Hello and welcome back to my channel, Deku Fanfic. Today we're kicking off the first part of our series, What If Deku Reincarnates as Chef? The author of this story is Joyseeker101 from fanfiction.net. Now let's dive into the fanfic. The talk show had been a lively event, with both pro heroes and other mundane celebrities like actors and singers. Its host was a bubbly young woman with frizzled red hair and a perennial friendly smile capable of easily putting people at ease. She was just finishing her latest interview by going through the section she knew her audience loved the most, 10 questions from the audience, and she was clearly pleased to see her current guest take part to this with honest interest, instead of the fake forced courtesy many VIPs before him had always used to keep their image safe, even when they were blatantly annoyed by most of those questions. Said guest was a tall, imposing man wearing a red and black-colored chef's uniform with striped designs on the middle front and shoulders, a black sash around his waist, a pair of knee-high black boots and a large puffed toque chef's hat. He was also keeping his uniform's collar raised. He had very chiseled facial features, moderately long white hair which kept braided into a ponytail and a well-kept long pointy beard and mustache, even a faint trace of freckles that had survived his teenage years, but his green eyes held the purest gentleness compared to his otherwise austere aura. "So you still practice every day?" the woman asked, actually impressed. "Oh, of course. No matter the age or experience, a professional never stops practicing. And I actually do enjoy it, it helps me feel just a tad younger," the old emissary chef answered with a low chuckle. "I visited your restaurant a couple times and I can testify to it, you are still damn good," the host answered, chuckling to herself. "Oh, I know that. Miso soup, pork belly cutlet and carriage, or donburi if you have something on your mind," the old man answered, looking at her like a grandfather looking at his favorite niece. "Why will you remember?" the woman said, shocked. "Believe it or not, I remember every single order of my regular customers," the chef answered. "Wow. But I want people at home to know that I don't eat all that at once, it's either one dish or the other. I do take care of my girlish figure," she countered with an ashamed expression. "What's wrong with enjoying food? I am happy you ask for seconds whenever you come visiting my restaurant." "Midoriya-san," the woman said with a long embarrassed whine, and burying her face in her hands as the entire studio was immersed in the laughter of the live audience present. "Sorry, my dear. I didn't mean to embarrass you," the other replied with a tiny smile surfacing from under his beard. "You just did though. Again, I apologize." "Fine. Ready for the 10th and last question?" the host asked with a childish grumble. "Ask anything you want." "Good. This is a question from Miss Tekabana, Sakai Prefecture. She would like to know why you decided to become a chef and when?" the woman asked while reading the question on the giant screen behind them both. "Oh, that is a good question. You may be surprised to know I made that decision when I was 16, right after waking up from a year-long coma. For me, a lot of things changed during that year," the old man answered with a chuckle. "A year of coma changed your life?" the woman asked, surprised. "Yes, you can say I lived an entire different life during that coma, in a sense. And that helped me focus myself on a new dream, one that I knew I could actually turn into reality, and that was becoming a chef. I believe I can say that I managed it quite well. I'd say. Your restaurant is basically legend nowadays. Even pro heroes swear high and low when they can't secure a table. But please tell us, do you want to share some details of that life you said you lived during that dreadful year?" the interviewer asked, chuckling amicably. Not yet, maybe one day I will, but for now I won't steal more time from you. I risk looking like one of those grandpas that never shut up, otherwise," the chef answered, equally amused. "It was a pleasure talking with you instead, sir. Time totally not wasted. So please, dear audience, let's give Mr. Midoriya a last applause as a thank you for being our guest today." Clap, 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 clap. As asked, the audience went wild in their applause while saluting the retreating chef. "Chef Midoriya, gentlemen. The world's greatest chef," the woman declared one last time before the show took a small pause for the ads to roll out and give time for the host to relax before the next guest's arrival. "The world's greatest chef. That would be a nice story to tell," the old man thought in amusement as he walked out of the TV studio and towards the car awaiting for him, his mind returning to that fateful day when he woke up from his coma and his life changed forever. Several years ago, Izuku Midoriya, age 16, in Mizudafu Hospital. Inko was over the moon. Her precious baby boy was finally awake. Awake after a long year of coma after that son of a piece of after the Bakugu brat blasted him away with his quirk in retaliation for Izuku daring to save his life from a villain. Inko really hated cursing, but what Mitsuki's spawn had done to her small ray of sunshine almost guaranteed Inko would have snapped the brat's neck with her bare hands. She didn't though, only because murder was still a crime, and she didn't want her precious Iken to one day wake up and learn his dear mother was in jail for putting down a rabid Pomeranian. Mitsuki had apologized for months about her son's behavior, but Inko and Hisashi, returned from his business trip as soon as he learned of the incident, still slapped her, the school and her psychotic son with a restraining order and the hospital bills and ruined almost any chance the boy had at entering UA University. Now even if the maniac managed to join the hero school, both Midoriya parents knew there wouldn't be a single breath or step Katsuki could take not under the constant watch and utmost scrutiny of the entire university staff. Assaulting somebody just because he believed that, the quirkless useless nerd, made him look bad in front of pro-heroes by saving him from being suffocated by a villain was not hero behavior, and many luckily thought the same. Pro-heroes especially since they still struggled every day to squash any rumor of there being an elitist quirkist mentality that many believed the profession was riddled with. But all of that was not important now. Now their beloved Izuku was finally awake after 1 year of coma. Hisashi and Inko were just finishing signing the last of the paperwork that would ensure their boy's release from the hospital as soon as the doctors declared that he was no longer in danger. You think he was serious when he asked us to remove all his hero merchandise from his room? Inko asked. I don't know honestly. But when we mentioned how you kept everything clean and proper he looked tired of it somehow. As if those had lost every magic they held for him. Hisashi answered, unsure. Knowing he was quirkless was a huge blow already. Maybe seeing his friend attack him like that the one time he tried to be a hero himself simply smashed his dream? Inko answered. You said he looked depressed already before that animal was attacked by the villain, maybe something happened even before that incident? He doesn't want to talk about it, he just says he understands he cannot be a hero. Inko answered, sighing. Maybe we can help him find a new dream? A new direction? He is a smart boy, maybe now that he no longer wants to be a hero he can become something else like a doctor or a lawyer. Hisashi offered. The woman asked, shocked. I almost lost him, Inko. We almost lost him. The last time I saw my son he was a kid. To him I was just a voice on the phone until yesterday when he woke up. He almost did not recognize me. His dad. Hisashi answered, eyes overflowing in tears as he cried and hiccuped so strong his body shook. You always provided for us, darling. Inko answered, hugging her husband as tightly as she could. Yeah, with money, he spat bitterly. But I was not there when he entered high school. I was not there when the bullying started. What memories does he have of me? A voicemail and some pictures. The man said. My dad is overseas working. I can easily imagine all the bullshit they said to hurt him, like that I did not love him because of his quirklessness or that I cheated on you or who knows what else. It's okay, we know you love us. And we love you too. Inko assured him while gently caressing his back in small circles. I ask you just another year. Another year to finish this project, then I will be back for good. I will ask to be transferred back here to the Mizutofu branch. Will be a proper family, promise? Hisashi promised. Oh Hisashi. There's no need. Yes there is. Hisashi insisted. Just give your best, it will be enough for us. No matter if you are far away. Inko said with a kind smile. Trust me, I will make it happen. I will return to you too. Hisashi answered, eyes ablaze in determination. At the same time, Izuku's room. The room had the same sterile white standardized decor of every other room, down to the exact same pictures hanging from the walls in the exact same positions. And Izuku's room was even more impersonal thanks to the total lack of flowers or get well soon cards, something that disturbed the nurses and doctors present so much they actually gave gifts to the boy to liven up the room when he woke. Your mom and dad are almost done signing everything, now we just need to make sure you are healthy enough and you will be able to get back home. The gentle nurse said with a kind smile. That's nice. Izuku answered plainly. Listen, I know it must hurt to not see your classmates send you anything, but maybe they were waiting for you to wake up? The young woman offered. Her only answer was a half-lidded stare that made her face flush red in embarrassment. Sigh. I know what you are thinking. I am quirkless so they don't care. And maybe it's true in their case, but not everybody out there is like that. Look at me. I am still here, and not just because it's my job. The woman said while showing the 4 arms her quirk gifted her with. Ahoo. There are good people out there, people that don't care if you have a quirk or not. People that will love and respect you all the same if you give them the chance. Having or not a quirk is not the be-all end-all, you can do amazing things if you set your mind to it. Humans did it before quirks even existed. Have faith in yourself. I bet you can find hundreds of friends both quirked and quirkless that will trust and love you just for who you are, not your powers. People you will be able to love and trust back with no fear," the nurse said while grabbing his hand in hers to give it a gentle squeeze. "I really hope so," Izuku answered, sighing. "Trust me, the world is not a nightmare ready to beat you down," she answered. "Sigh. Okay. Have faith. Good things come to those who work strong," the woman replied while walking away. "Hey." "Yes?" she asked, stopping right at the door and turning back to look at him. "Can you live an entire different life in a single year?" he asked while looking outside the window with a faraway light in his eyes. "You mean while in a coma?" the nurse asked. "Yes. It's strong to say. Many say they were fully aware of the world around them but unable to move. Others simply said they had a normal dream, like when they slept normally and just woke up after years, while for others everything lasted only an instant. It's complicated enough that there is not a simple answer." "Oh. So you dreamed of a different life for yourself?" "Either that or I got ice skate and just got back home," Izuku answered with a chuckle devoid of any real emotion. "Considering life is not a manga, I am more inclined to say it was just a dream," the woman answered, chuckling amicably and secretly happy to see the boy finally showing her a more genuine smile, albeit minuscule. "Yeah, then I guess it was just a dream then," he replied, looking down at his hands. "Can I ask what you were doing during that life?" the nurse asked with a gentle smile. "I was a chef," the boy answered simply. "It's a nice job. You like to cook?" "I like food, especially katsudon." "Yes, I can say I do like cooking." "Maybe then it's a sign for a future career?" "It depends. It doesn't take a quirk to be a great chef. Just talent and the will to put in lots of strong work. You can try to see if you have what it takes." "A chef, can I be one? Do I deserve to be one?" Izuku asked, looking honestly scared. "Why not? You won't know if you don't try," the nurse answered, smirking before walking away. "Once a chef always a chef, you fool." A voice echoed in the boy's ears like a faint whisper, making him jump in fright and look around himself wildly. That voice?" he muttered with wide eyes. That night he would not sleep at all. Every time he tried the same disembodied voice of an old lady he was sure he knew personally would keep berating him. "You and I are chefs. We do not stop being one ever. We do not retire unless we die. Our destiny is to die in front of a chopping board while cooking, and only once the dish is ready, like Frozy-sama did. And you know it." Then finally, after the third day of continuous visits from the voice whenever he slept, the dreams too came. Memories Izuku desperately kept suppressing in the belief they were just his imagination. His early days in his new life, his first dish, his first apprenticeship, then his first restaurant. All he learned, all he did. And then the rare flashes of what the other him did after Joie used his accursed taste change on him to turn him into the guy's puppet, and the pain he caused. It was not you, and you know it. You would have never done any of that, and you know it. I know the real you. The real Zaus. Who you were before Joie corrupted you. You want redemption? Then grab the kitchen knife and cook like you used to. Recover your honor like only a chef can. By honoring the ingredients. Eyawa. That night Izuku would wake up screaming, covered in cold sweat, and start crying immediately after while begging for forgiveness over and over. "Setsuno, I am sorry," the boy begged in tears. "Then show it, you idiot." "Ah?" The boy asked to the empty room, once heard the voice answer with a friendly chuckle for the first time since he started hearing it. It will also be the last time he ever heard that voice of the woman the other him considered his greatest friend and rival. 3 days later. It was finally the day the doctors deemed Izuku healthy enough to be took back home. The boy had already been helped by his mother to dress and was sitting on a wheelchair his father was pushing. The three of them were even chatting a few inane things when a loud cacophony of curses and screams started echoing in the corridors, coming from right in front of the hospital entrance. The cause of the ruckus was a guy with a quirk turning him into a tiger-human hybrid arguing with a guy with a gorilla quirk that made his body huge and obscenely muscled. F you. And oh F you. And the two punks were apparently uninterested in the absurd noise they were making in the middle of the hospital while they argued about something, although the fact both were covered in bruises suggested they both were in the hospital to finish whatever fight landed them there in the first place. "What is happening?" Inko asked, scared. Apparently the gorilla guy destroyed the tiger guy's new car while parking. The two beat the CRP out of each other until they both passed out and were brought here a couple hours ago, and now that they are finally awake, they have started all over again. A nearby doctor answered with a tired voice. "Shouldn't somebody stop them?" Inko asked. "Security will be here soon, have patience," the doctor answered, sighing. Izuku did not exactly know what he was doing but simply following the memories of his year of coma, He felt compelled to walk towards them and tap the shoulder of the tiger guy, shocking the doctors and his parents by getting up from the wheelchair with no apparent issues. Tap, tap. What the F do you dash? Both arguing men started yelling at the same time while turning towards the intruder, when they stopped abruptly. Because for some reason the kid whose head could barely reach the tiger guy's armpits, or the gorilla guy's belly button, had become in their eyes a giant easily towering over them both as soon as they locked eyes with him. This is a hospital. Can you two please go fight somewhere else, monkey and cat? The boy asked with a calm and yet infinitely threatening tone. You little dash. Keep it down. The tirade of the duo died immediately when the kid's booming roar, delivered though with the grace of a king, eclipsed both their voices and made their furs stand up like they were electrified. And at hearing his order, everybody in the entire hospital stopped breathing for a couple seconds. The boy was standing with his back straight and hands clasped behind him in quite the regal pose, and with his eyes narrowed, his hair were even casting a bit of a shadow over those same eyes too. The most daring abnormality though was that many could swear they saw a glimpse of a giant red-furred gorilla of sort with big boar-like tusks, and enough muscles on its human-like torso and arms to shame a pack of bodybuilders, appear behind him for an instant with shining eyes and a BLD red flaming aura of energy covering its entire body. Wow, it's cool man, it's cool. We are done arguing, yes? The gorilla guy whimpered with his complexion turning chalk white in fear. We are sorry if we make a scene, sir. And no need to get violent, yes? This is a hospital after all, the tiger guy added while nodding violently. Good to know. Then please, do take a seat so these gentle nurses can look at your bruises. Izuku answered with a gentle smile, one completely devoid of any threatening intent. Oh, of course, sir. No problem, sir. Both punks answered as one and hurrying to sit on the waiting seats with their backs straight and without uttering a sound, but just following the kid's every move with unblinking eyes while sweating heavily. Nice. Thank you. Without another word, the young teen walked back towards the wheelchair and collapsed on it, he too utterly drenched in sweat and panting heavily. Iken? You okay? Inko asked immediately while kneeling down in front of him to check his now very pale face. Why, yes, I am fine. I am just tired, that is all, he answered with a forced smile. Was that intimidation? How? The boy thought, feeling overwhelmed by his own confusion. Well, whatever you did was kind of foolish, you could not know if they would attack you, Hisashi answered, sighing. Sorry, Dad. It's okay, luckily they calmed down instead of getting violent. Just do not think things will always go this well. Of course. Very well. Let's go home now, I just recently filled the fridge, I want to celebrate your return, Iken? Inko said with a wide smile. Okay, Mom. Later that day, Midoriya household. The family of three was just finishing setting the table, with Izuku managing with great effort to talk his parents into letting him help them, even if maybe he did whine a little too childishly for his tastes. I am not made of glass, Dad, he said. You just got out of the hospital, please do take it easy. Hisashi answered, frowning a little. I will take it easy, promise. But I am used to helping, you know? I like to feel useful. I won't deny that, just don't rush. Okay, Dad. Good. The man answered, showing from where the boy took his cinnamon bun smile, from as both father and son matched each other. Since you both feel so well, are you up for a small adventure? Inko asked with a teasing smile. An adventure, darling? Hisashi asked, curious. Oh, I found a new recipe on the net, do you feel adventurous enough to try it? She asked. That would explain why you insisted on buying that giant wok. Okay. Okay, Mom. Izuku echoed behind his father. Good. Let's hope it will be good. This is the first time I'll make it after all. Inko answered while making a show of rolling up her sleeve intensely enough to make the two men behind her laugh in amusement. The recipe looked simple enough, even if the big wok kept sizzling extremely loudly, something that raised an alarm bell in the back of Izuku's head the boy wasn't even aware existed. And when that burning oil spilled out after a too violent twist of Inko's ladle, the entire content caught fire and produced a giant flame followed by a deafening whoosh sound. Kaya. The woman had barely the time to jump back and not get burned, slipping on the floor while pulling the wok filled in flaming oil with her. Ainkeo/MOM. Both Hisashi and Izuku yelled at the same time while hurrying to help her, but while his father managed to grab the woman in a protective embrace that saved her, Izuku peripherally watched the wok fall in slow motion towards the floor, and he swore he heard the horrified scream that seemed to come from the food in it. When the thing reached halfway to the floor, and once his instinct told him his mother was actually safe, The young teen moved with a burst of speed that surprised his parents and grabbed the wok's handles and rapidly lifted it to put it back on the fire to start stirring it with the same ladle he took from his mother's hand. A bit more salt, some pepper maybe? The seasoning does need some adjustment. As if in a trance, the boy tasted the content and started adjusting the seasoning while continuously stirring it, his hands moving fast enough they simply disappeared. There should be some beef in the freezer. There it is, he then muttered, grabbing a knife nearby and managing to cut the still frozen meat without trouble. Iken? Inko asked, dumbfounded. Potatoes? I need potatoes, the boy mumbled while preparing the tubers, then onions, peas, pepper grains and more at the same time at high speed. Son. Hisashi tried again, just as shocked as his wife. The beef stew is looking good. The mushrooms need to be cut thinner still. Iken. The tenderloin needs braising. Drats, no red wine? I'll use sake. Are those strawberries? I know what to do for dessert. Nice. Izuku. This knife is too diamond dull. I need to find a milk here too. Iken. Inko called out, raising her voice. The stew is ready, so is the meat, vegetables are ready too. So are appetizers, first course, salad, dessert and side dish. Everything is dash. Izuku, both his parents yelled at the same time as loud as they could. What? The boy uttered while distractedly finishing putting everything in the respective plates. How? Hisashi asked with wide eyes. How what? Uhu? The young teen asked back before finally noticing what he had done and how long he had actually zoned out. The kitchen table was now fully stacked in a full-course menu for 3, every dish worthy of a 5-star restaurant in appearance and preparation. The table itself seemed ready to collapse under the weight of the immense quantity of food on it, while the scent permeating the house was unbelievably good. Did I do this? He asked. Me and your mother were kind of too overwhelmed to do it, so I guess it's a yes, the man answered, unnerved. I was just thinking about how to help, Izuku tried saying. Iken, you were in a trance, your usual mumbling was there, but in the meantime your body moved. And it was unreal. Inko answered. Did I do wrong? He asked, unsure. By nose and eyes I would say no. And since we did say we needed to celebrate your waking up and returning home, this would have been the final result all the same. I just did not think you would have been the one cooking. Hisashi answered. Me neither. Izuku admitted. So what's this? Inko asked while pointing at the table. Beef stew, mushroom salad, sweet and sour pork ribs, 3 meats hot pot with beef tenderloin, pork belly and chicken guts, tuna carpaccio, scallops and aromatic potage, and I put some strawberry sorbet in the freezer for a late snack. I think? The boy answered automatically before growing puzzled by his own answer. Those were all leftovers except the tuna? How did you do all this just with that? Inko asked. I don't know. Izuku answered. Well, let's see if it is good at least, Hisashi muttered while trying the stew. And develop a blissful expression food should not give to somebody. He actually looked frighteningly close at having an ahigo. Both mother and son gurgled out at the same time. It's good. Hisashi moaned in awe and with his mouth still full while shamelessly filling and refilling his plate over and over. Darling. Manners. Please contain yourself. Inko said, appalled while trying the pork ribs. No. And to then show utter hypocrisy by attacking the dish herself with the same lack of manners, like a starving animal. Leave me something. Izuku yelled in horror at seeing the dishes apparently he made getting empty fast. Since when can he cook this well? Hisashi asked between mouthfuls. I have no idea, but I know I can't stop. Inko answered. Me neither. Izuku replied, just as entranced as they were by the taste. When the 3 finally stopped eating, almost 2 hours later, the family collapsed on the sofa, all 3 of them groaning because their bulging stomachs filled to the breaking point. Oh God. I am going to explode. Izuku admitted in agony, and yet not regretting a single morsel of what he ate. You said you wanted to become a chef? Hisashi asked. It was just an idea, Dad. I don't know if I have what it takes. My stomach says you have some solid basis to start from, Iken? Inko admitted before burping loudly, a thing that made her face burn red in shame. Sorry. If you say so, Mom. What I don't understand is how you became this good all of a sudden. Hisashi wondered. I have a theory, if you have an open mind and can actually help me make sense of this. Izuku answered. I can barely move, so it is not like I have no time to listen, his father admitted. Me too, Iken. Inko added. Well, I am not sure, but there is a chance my coma has something to do with it. You see. 3 weeks later, Mizutafu, a market square. The so-called market square, was just a small rectangle of paved street near a park where on Saturday the housewives/househusbands of half Muzutafu met to assault the various vendors for ingredients and other amenities in a free-for-all to hunt down the best sales. Today, though, the entire thing had been booked by a renowned school of cuisine for a small cooking showdown between some of their better students and 3 amateur chefs. The prize was a mere toaster, and everybody knew both challenge and prize were just an excuse to collect funds for the local association, making sure homeless people had a place to eat for free. So this is Dad's plan? Izuku asked in dread while watching the big stage the association built for the challenge. Hua. Before returning to his office, he said that if you really gain knowledge from your coma, and if you want to fully use this knowledge to become a great chef again, then you will need to catch the eyes of professionals so to gain entrance to a proper school for aspiring chefs. This contest should help a lot if the rumors Hisashi-kun heard about this year's edition are as good as he said they were. Inko answered. You think Dad will be able to see if it was really just a dream or transmigration as he called it? Izuku asked, unsure. I know Diamen, well, I didn't teach you how to cook like that, and yet you demonstrated skills I never saw before. The fact that you went into a trance every time we tested it was what ticked off your father. He literally said it was like somebody else was controlling your movements. Then why not a quirk? Izuku asked. We took the test again, Iken. It's still negative. Inko answered, showing him again the same result papers she showed the judges when she managed to enlist Izuku between the amateurs challenging the cooking school students. I know, it's just, an Isekai sounds so unbelievable. Your dad begs to differ, honey? That's because he is a geek. You are a nerd, Iken, Inko answered, chuckling. Those are 2 different things. If you say so, dear. Okay, Quirker. Hui, the woman answered with an overly hurt expression that made him chuckle. Ho, just go there and give your best. Whatever happened during that coma left you with a gift. If it was you to live as Zaus-san in another world, or it's just his knowledge passing to you, what matters is that you now can do those things here as well. Chefs are supposed to be a gift, right? Heroes bring smiles by protecting people. Chefs do it by filling their stomach, you said so yourself. Your dream is still the same, you can still do it. Why you think I can do this? Izuku asked, scared. Yes, I do. I believe in you, and your father does as well. Inko answered. I will make you proud then, the boy answered while marching up the stage with the other 2 amateurs to take position at his small kitchen. We already are, Iken. Inko muttered with a small smile. On the stage. Good evening, people. Welcome to the 5th edition of our cooking showdown. The host of the event was a bald old man wearing a bright yellow tux addressing the audience under the stage through a gaudy golden mic. Inko had in the meantime started recording everything on camera since due to the time difference Hisashi could not see it live, so he gently asked to have a recording of the thing sent through email once done, for bragging purposes other than further data for his theories about Izuku's new skills. As always, we have 3 daring challengers here to face against the top 3 students of Inoshiki Culinary School, a friendly showdown to collect funds, so do not get too angry should you lose. You are facing pros just to help the less fortunate, not to get fame. But let's introduce the challengers and their dishes, shall we? The host said while nearing the area left to the amateur chefs. Let's start with you. You are? Hi, I'm Nana. Umibozu Nana. I will prepare my special vegan pork cutlet. The young 30-something woman replied with a wide smile. There is nothing vegan about pork cutlets, dear, the host commented dryly. There is if you use tofu instead of the meat of some poor pigs, she answered, frowning. Then don't call it pork, but whatever floats your boat, darling, the old man answered, grimacing and walking towards the second woman. Good evening, I am Mitsuki Bakugo. I will prepare my own version of the oden. Mitsuki answered, stealthily stealing a glance at Izuku next to her and flinching when she saw the boy take a tiny step aside to avoid her. And flinching harder when she saw Inko glare at her with all her strength. At least somebody here can prepare good food. Good to know, the host replied, smiling happily. Corpse eater. Go Isekai, a turnip woman, the host replied with a scathing glare that silenced the first contestant, before finally focusing on Izuku. I am Izuku Midoriya and I will prepare a dish called golden fried rice, with shrimps and pork belly meat. Izuku muttered with a shy voice, and even the mic had trouble picking his answer up to make it audible for everybody else. Oh, a simple dish. You plan to make a lot of plates then? The host asked with a smile that kinda looked too mocking for Inko's tastes. If it's not a problem, the boy answered. It won't be if it will actually be good. Let's introduce the judges now, the guy answered before kind of shoving Izuku away for a girl to walk forward. As you know, we usually have a panel of both teachers and common people to decide who is the winner, but this year we have a special threat. Our association, the one usually collaborating with Inoshiki School to prepare this event, has managed to strike a deal with a famous Japanese chef that accepted being our head judge and even brought along some colleagues. So please, give an applause to Chef Samui, owner of the legendary 3-Michelin-star Samui restaurant in Tokyo, and his friends. The woman declared as 5 judges dressed in fine chef attires all sat together at the same long table on the right side of the stage. All of them also sported on their chests the insignia of the restaurants where they worked, and not one of them had less than 2 tiny stars under those restaurants' names, meaning that all of them were definitely pros. Thank you for the warm welcome. It's a pleasure to see my alma mater, Inoshiki School, still producing such amazing chefs, so I am honored to be here to give my own 2 cents on their level of preparation. The head chef, Samui, declared once the applause calmed down and the mic was passed to him. We will be strict though. So be advised, we want you to give your best, the man said before sitting down on his chair in the middle of the judge formation. Well, you heard the man. When we'll give you the start signal, you will have 40 minutes tops to prepare your dish, so don't slack off, the host yelled in glee. At 40 minutes only? Oh God. Izuku thought in worry as the host started listing the plates the students will prepare, and all of those sounded very complex compared to his. What's wrong? Afraid? Since when? Ooh-hoo, the boy thought in surprise at hearing a deep baritone voice. He recognized it as Zaus' appetite demon, a very prideful food spirit that very rarely talked with the man, and that after the events with Joie fully turned his back to the chef and never again talked with him. Why was he there? And why did he talk to Izuku? This is your second chance, partner. You want redemption? Seize it. Be a chef again and do not lose your way again. You can't retire, Zaus-chan. Once a chef, always a chef. Setsuno? That's a memory, you buffoon. She is not here. I am here and I want to eat, not be your nanny. So don't expect me to hold your hand or talk to you whenever you are nervous. I followed you here just for one reason, food. So dry your tears and straighten your back. Do you still have your skills? Then use them. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Your time starts now, the host yelled, giving start to the challenge. I can still be a chef? Even after what I did as Zaus? As a villain? Izuku thought in worry while mechanically collecting the ingredients he needed from the communal fridge they all were given access to. Before is before, now is now. You were Zaus, now you are Izuku. Who the hell cares? The ingredients want to give you another chance, so where's the problem? Grab the knife and do your job. You heard me? It doesn't matter if you are Zaus or Izuku now. You are both. I am both? Small soundtrack suggestion to listen while reading. Like, Toriko Battle OST, Tosaha New. Whitey Link. Yes, DM you are still a chef at heart? Then cook, the appetite demon said with a fierce roar, and from the outside, everybody saw the young teen eyes turn inhumanly sharp as he grabbed a kitchen knife, and performed a miracle. Chop, 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 chop. The judges were speechless. The shy kid had picked up speed to the point the knife could not be seen at all and utensils went swapped at unreal tempo. I am Izuku, cutting. The kid muttered as ingredients went cut into thin slices with just one slice of the knife. So fast the boy would just hit the counter to have the ingredients jump up for him to cut while they were still in midair. I am Zaus. Braising. He then whispered as the fire roared to life under the wok and the meat went braised to absolute perfection. I am both. Sautéing. At the same time other pans hovered over the flames in complete stillness with only the rice and shrimps in there moving without stopping. The more he cooked the clearer Izuku's memories as Zaus became and his movements more precise. Everything then became his own skills instead of implants from reincarnation, until Izuku and Zaus became one and the same, a single being. And food honor was returned to the young chef. Plating. Tuck, 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 tuck. Plates upon plates, in an absurd number, were delivered as soon as the dish was ready, each plate not even having the time to fully rest on the counter, and the boy was already back to cooking more. He's covering the work of an entire kitchen staff by himself, one of the judges muttered in horror. Too slow, my body still can't keep up. Izuku thought in worry as he knew that had his body moved like his old one as Zaus, he would have done at least 10 times the amount of plates he was preparing in that moment. If not more. I can't keep up. What the F? One of the people in the audience, a girl with a speed-related quirk, was feeling dizzy as her eyes could not keep up with what he was doing on stage. Go Aiken. Go. Inko in the meantime was going wild and cheering for her son. Nobody could miss the fact she was incredibly proud of him. Tuck, 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 tuck. Is he cooking for everybody? The girl cooking next to Izuku shrieked in awe as the plates kept amassing, all absolutely perfectly done and at a rate the staff struggled to keep up and deliver them even while focusing on Izuku alone. How? Mitsuki asked, horrified. Hoi. Slow down. The host asked, scared. No. You others hurry up. Izuku roared in determination, making the idiot finally shut up, and to the others' awe or horror in case of the other contestants, he actually went even faster. Yes, chef. It was maybe an unconditional reflex, but the students answered with the same tone they normally used in the kitchen where they worked, all for their astonishment while they picked up the pace to keep up with the kid. Other than the time needed for the ingredients to actually cook, that speed is unreal, one of the judges muttered with wide eyes. No, he is still faster than that, the head judge growled. He is shortening the time needed by doing everything at the same time, but instead of having somebody helping him, he is doing it alone. Is he using his quirk to speed up his movements? The Michelin chef hissed in annoyance. Actually, he is quirkless. What? He is quirkless, that is all natural talent. The woman repeated while showing them the copy of the medical test Inko brought along. Impossible, the chef yelled in disbelief. It was indeed impossible, because who was cooking was the second legendary chef of another world, second only to a woman with unfathomable skills called a national treasure. But since there was no Setsuno in his original world, Izuku's abilities could really be called peerless. The skills of the king of chefs. 40 minutes later. Preparation complete. Sorry for the wait, please enjoy your meal. Izuku declared with a bow a minute before the judges could actually stop the competition. In front of him there were lots of plates, other than the 5 for the judges, of gold-colored fried rice perfectly prepared, each plate a work of art finely decorated by an absurdly detailed drawing of a cherry blossom's branch made of soy sauce glacé and flowers of sweet and sour sauce, while on top of the rice stood a humble tiny patch of green leaves. How on God's green earth the boy actually got the time to also take care of decoration/presentation was anybody's guess, but every person present agreed on the fact that the smell was truly literally divine. Holiest, I am hungry, Katsuki muttered while swallowing down what felt like the 4th mouthful of saliva. Yeah, well, good job at alienating the family. Now you won't be invited to dinner anytime soon. Neither will I, Mitsuki answered bitterly, once walking down from the stage after delivering her dishes to the judges. God damn it. The young teen swore under his breath as no plate even just passed close to him and his mother, making the two of them part of the few that did not receive any. We will now proceed with our judgment of the dishes. Starting with Midoriya-san's rice. The judge's spokeswoman declared. Iken? Inko muttered while accepting the dish her son brought her himself. Please don't start, Mom. I am already a nervous wreck by myself. Izuku begged, shivering violently thanks to his nerves. Judge table. This looks very nice, one of the judges admitted while studying the plate and steadfastly ignoring the loud gurgling coming from his stomach. On top of the white porcelain plate stood the pearl-like rice grains, with every grain perfectly wrapped in the gold of the egg yolk the boy used like a sauce. The egg was not completely cooked either, but had been left slightly viscous to better hug the tongue once eaten. The egg dressing in it literally turned the rice golden as the dish name implied. It even left behind thin threads like molten gold when lifted by the chopsticks thanks to its semi-liquid consistency. It is shining like gold. Head Judge Samui exclaimed in wonder while studying his plate. Not one of them had ever thought that it would be possible for a plate of egg-fried rice to look like a piece of artwork, and when the judges actually tried it, the egg sauce fully mixed with the rice grains and solidified to create an explosion of taste that together with the tender and syrupy pork belly meat, the mix of spices and shrimps moved them to tears of awe. How? How did he do it? How? The Michelin chef kept asking himself between mouthfuls as while the rice tasted godly, each bite of that heaven also felt like a stab to his honor as a chef, until tears started flowing from his eyes without control. He was weeping in defeat and yet he could not stop himself from eating more. Is he okay? One of the judges asked, shamelessly talking with her mouth full but unable to stop eating long enough to ask. I think the boy crushed his spirit with a plate of rice. And god damn it, this tastes amazing. Gotta ask him the recipe. Another judge answered while rudely licking his plate clean, uncaring of people seeing him doing that. I thought you hated rice, that's why you have none on your restaurant's menu. I may change my stand on rice after this. With Inko. Iken. Chop. I am so proud of you. No. Damn it, this is amazing. Inko, between mouthfuls, complimented her kid and actually wolfed down the remaining rice so to then throw away the empty plate and hug him as strong as she could. Glad you like it, Mom? It's kind of a rush job though. If you want tomorrow I can make it again and properly. Izuku answered with a sorry expression. Properly, 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 properly. Utter silence fell in the small square as Izuku's words echoed in everybody's ears and pierced their minds like a searing hot blade. This is a rush job? Inko asked, shocked. Yes, I had to cut corners and make it immediately instead of preparing the ingredients beforehand to truly bring out the best taste they have to offer. Sorry? The boy answered, looking down in shame, as the Zaus part of him knew the dish could be way better if done properly, but he had not proper equipment or time to work with, especially while working with that dull slab of metal they gave him and had the gall to call a kitchen knife. Why? After a long silence, a loud wailing of despair was heard as Samui broke in tears while tearing away the restaurant name from the front of his attire to throw it on the floor and then bury his face in his arms to cry even harder. Izuku's victory was a given at that point. What was more important to mother and son, and from afar Hisashi, was that it was the first time the young teen could call upon Za's chef knowledge while still being in full control and without the feeling of depersonalization Izuku felt whenever he tried remembering something of his life as the man. Island, a week later. Your son is a demon monster, Hisashi. The man's assistant said once visioned the footage Inko sent him. Yeah. And I am demon proud of him. Hisashi answered, smirking. And you say he needs proper knives to do a better job? At the very least, listening to him, the ingredients here are way easier to use compared to Za's ones, but still, at least the knives he would like to have are like his old ones. The man answered. And that means? Since we have no milk here, we'll need to borrow the instruments of Lab 3 to create durable blades with edges sharpened to nanometric levels. Nanometric. Too sharp. I saw Iken peel a raw egg with a cheap knife. Peel it, Tamaki. He gave a single swipe and the thing lost its shell like a diamond orange and the egg inside was left standing up by itself before splattering down a second later. It looked like something out of a diamond manga. Hisashi said while reproducing said video on the computer along with many others from the various tests he had Izuku go through. Is that a living fish skeleton? Tamaki asked faintly. Iken calls it food honor. Whatever it is, he used it to fillet a fish so fast the fish did not notice. How the F does that work? No idea. That is why I wanted your help to decipher what the hell happened to my boy during his coma. He either got an Isekai and came back, or he somehow downloaded information inside his brain from another world. The brain scan shows nothing out of ordinary besides brain activity way superior than normal, but it still covers the areas of the brain it's supposed to, the assistant said. BLD pressure too is normal. Muscles mass too, and yet speed and reaction times are like you saw. Hisashi added while passing a hand in his messy hair, something he deeply regretted passing to his boy. Absurd. Tamaki said, smirking. It's not exactly a proper scientific term, but I'll let it slide. I still say we need a BLD sample to run more tests. They took one in the hospital under my request. Here's the results. Hisashi answered while displaying the results. All in the norm, no anomalies detected. Dad, is my BLD still okay? Izuku's voice echoed inside Hisashi's mind. Yes, Iken. Those cells you talked about have not surfaced yet. They will come out soon, Dad. I can feel them stir awake whenever I eat. We will keep them a secret, have no fear. Hisashi? The assistant asked once seen the man look deep in thought. Sorry, just reminiscing about something trivial. You were saying? That this makes no sense. If your boy is exactly as he was before the coma, then there should be no way he can do all that now. Let alone knowledge, he has the muscle memory to go with it, something years of practice gives you, not a coma. You said he would stutter once or twice in the past, but those stutters as you call them are not present in any of the videos I saw. Whatever separation there was between the two him, now it's gone for good or close to be gone. And if we can't find anything with info from before the coma, we will need to run tests now that he is awake and compare the results. Do we have to? Hisashi asked, scared. What are you hiding, Hisashi? I got the full story from Izuku, and there are details I know I must keep a secret. He doesn't want to be a hero anymore, he just wants to be a chef and live a quiet life. He has abandoned a dream already, I don't want him to lose another, especially if I know he can reach it. Something happened to him, didn't it? The changes are happening slowly but are there. I want to see if those changes are dangerous to him, but I am too afraid of others using that data for their agenda. You mean like all for one? We all know a body was never found, he may still be out there. That dangerous? I got an explanation and saw it firsthand. It can be used by somebody with no remorse or care for collateral damages. Then it's decided me and you will need to be extra careful, But if your boy wants to give his best as a chef instead of a hero, I think I can help. Tamaki offered with an encouraging smile. Thank you, Tamaki. I really want to help my boy reach his full potential. That's corny, Hisashi, the assistant said, chuckling. Oh, shut up, he answered, face red in embarrassment. Let's say I can close an eye and let you use our instrumentation to help him reach the full potential you talked about, the lab director muttered, making both conspirators jump up in fright. Yes, Chief? Hisashi answered with narrowed eyes. I expect him to take part in some tests all the same. Nothing invasive if you are so sure about his secret being dangerous, but we still need to see if it can really be a threat or if your being his father is making you worry for nothing. The old man answered. No BLD test though. Really? What's in his BLD, Hisashi? Something I can't talk about. Why? Too dangerous. A virus. A mutation. Can it spread? Not if somebody does not steal his BLD and tries to. And even then it's inadvisable. How much? Not everybody can withstand the strain, and I don't want to think how Quirks would react to that. You know the higher-ups will force us to tell them? If they know about it, sir? Hisashi countered. And he just wants to be a chef? A simple life as a chef. He isn't even sure he wants to open his own restaurant, just work in one. It doesn't even have to be fancy. Godamnit. Okay. Sir? Let me cover the few traces you two morons left behind, then we'll get to work in preparing his tests. And I hope your son's food is worth it, the old man declared with a growl. Hisashi, the chief said with narrowed eyes. I kinda sent a drone home to collect some? Hisashi said with a weak smile. Midoriya, the old man roared in fury. I was having soba withdrawals, the man answered, whining. We have strict rules about secrecy here, Midoriya. And even then we have a perfectly fine cafeteria here. It's not the same. Hisashi answered, offended. Fork it out then, let's try. No. It's mine. Are you denying your superior? Yes. Hisashi, man, just hand them over. It's just soba. Tamaki said, rolling his eyes. Just soba? Fine. He answered with a petulant tone, but still took out one of the boxes he held hidden in his office personal fridge. Here, choke on them you two. Chen. Drama queen. Let's see those skills of your brat, the old man declared while shaking his head and taking a bite. He made them with common equipment and ingredients found in every supermarket, just so you know. Nothing luxurious was used. Say, how many knives do you reckon dear Iken needs to do his best? Hisashi's chief asked with a way too innocent smile that sent a chill up the man's spine. I think the guys in Lab 13 have a new super alloy that they did not know how to use. I bet they can make awesome pans with that as well. Tamaki added from the sidelines. We'll ask them to borrow some. Level 5 secrecy, of course. At the very least, sir. Oh. And I believe that in exchange of your request of transferal back to Mizutafu going through smoothly, I will be your dinner guest once a month, if you don't mind paying for my silence with food. Me too. You will just stay quiet, Tamaki? Okay, sir, damn it. Okay, sir. You'll have your bribe. Hisashi muttered in answer. Wonderful. Now share with me those tests you talked about, I want to see them myself. Oh God, what have I done? I am sorry, Iken. Hisashi thought in horror. He just hoped nobody else would notice his son's skill before securing his safety. Back to the mainland, Mizutafu Yaoyoroza household, kitchen. There was a somber silence in the huge kitchen of the disgustingly rich family, for a murder had happened there, with ingredients being the victims. It was a massacre. Some strange gelatinous green sludge was slowly dripping from the walls and smelling like dirty socks. A small pan was burning in a corner while completely enveloped by flames, and the oven was giving few last dying electric whimpers before finally succumbing, producing a tiny plume of black smoke and then letting its frontal panel detach and slam on the floor in 1,000 pieces. Why does this keep happening? I just want to be good at cooking. The lady of the house, Rei Yayorozu, wailed in tears while burying her face in her husband's shoulder as he hugged her. I know, dear. But you are an amazing woman already. Maybe it's the universe balancing things out by giving you some bad luck, otherwise you would be too perfect. The woman's husband, Saito Yayorozu, answered while patting her back in a comforting manner, and at the same time sending an apologetic look at their family personal chef. The guy was weeping at watching the sorry state the kitchen had been reduced to in merely 5 minutes. T2 perfect? Rei asked with a hopeful tone, breaking her husband's heart by locking her now puffy red eyes with his. Of course, it is clearly a sick joke of the gods, pure jealousy. The man answered, shamelessly ramping up his compliments with zero hesitation. As for him, there was never enough simping, if it meant having the love of his life smile. "You are so good to me," Rei wailed while hugging him again. "And so are you to me, dear. Come, while dear Takashi makes a list of what it will need to be changed dash." "Demon near everything, sir," the chef interrupted him with a tone of horrified awe at the sheer destruction he was seeing. "We will go watch some TV to relax." Saito growled out the rest of his words while nailing the man with a scathing glare and half-dragging his wife away. "Living room. Here, darling. We'll watch some silly videos and you'll see you will feel better," Saito said while turning on the giant TV and selecting the internet video app, that for the sake of copyright we will call YouTube. "I just wanted to be the one preparing lunch for you and Momo-chan for once," Rei admitted with a small, adorable voice. "I know, dear, and one day you will," Saito said. "I hope it will be soon. Can we watch that?" The woman answered while pointing at the top 10 featured videos, at the very first video dominating the list in terms of visualizations to be precise. "The Young Chef Competition? Why is it trending? It's a small channel with barely any followers too," the man said, confused. "Maybe somebody screwed up badly?" Rei asked, hopeful. Schadenfreude. That will help her feel better. Hopefully whoever it is they fail so strong, Rei-chan will look like a MSTR in comparison. Saito thought in relief as he as well believed that to be the case. "Yes, let's see that. A good laugh is always good for one's health," he said aloud while clicking on the video and already savoring the return of his wife's smile and laughter at the expenses of some unknown brat F-up. Tuck. 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 And both adults watched slack-jawed as the video instead featured Izuku going in raw and without lube in the competition while humiliating his opponents. Holy F. He is culinary raping them. Is the video sped up? Behind them their chef was heard shrieking in awe after glancing from the kitchen door. "No," Saito answered, shocked as the number of plates the boy made kept growing. "Wah. Even a kid cooks better than me. And he doesn't look older than Momo-chan." Rei in the meantime started crying again, not that Saito could actually blame her. "I think I found your new cooking teacher instead." It was then that the man devised a new plan while looking at the screen with narrowed eyes. What? Really? Who?" Rei asked, still hiccuping. "That boy, he seems prepared enough." "No. Please don't fire me. I can get better." "Even better than that," their chef said immediately while falling on his knees. "He will just teach Rei-chan how to cook better with weekly lessons. I am not firing you after years of loyal service," Saito answered while rolling his eyes. Okay then. Do you really think you can become better than that though?" Mr. Yaoyorozu asked, curious. "Maybe," the chef tried answering with a forced smile. It was utter bullshit and both men knew that but chose to not comment on it all the same. 2 days later, Midoriya House. Ding, ding, ding. "Coming." Inko yelled while opening the door to see a tall gentleman with clearly expensive clothes waiting for her on the other side. Good evening?" "Good evening. You are Inko Midoriya, I presume?" the man asked. "Yes." "Saito Yaoyorozu, pleased to meet you." "Pleasure is mutual. How do you know my name?" "I know a guy, or better, a guy knows you," Saito answered, smirking. "Who?" "Samui, he is the head chef of my family's favorite restaurant?" Or he was before his nervous breakdown. "Oh. Him, how's he?" Inko asked with a sorry expression. "He is doing okay, or so I heard," Saito answered, shrugging. At the same time, penthouse at the opposite side of the city, kitchen. No. It was mellower. And the taste was richer. The famous chef Samui yelled with insane eyes while throwing away another pot of rice behind him. Around him dozens of empty sacks of rice littered the floor, and by looking at him, it was clear he did nothing besides cooking ever since the challenge, not even sleeping or showering. How did he do that? Oh, wahahahahaha. A deranged laugh echoed in the penthouse before the man's assistant finally forced his way into the apartment by bursting down the door and accompanied by 3 burly doctors holding up a straitjacket. Back to Inko and Saito. "I hope he recovers. But why did you ask him about me?" "Well, I needed a name to better find you and your son, Mdem," Saito answered. "Why were you looking for us?" Inko asked with narrowed eyes. "I heard your son is looking for a university to join while following his dream to be a chef, and for a restaurant where to work part-time so to have some actual experience." "Why do you know all this?" "Because I can offer your son both in exchange for a favor," Saito answered. "Ooh, may I come in? So we can talk details without others eavesdropping." "We were about to have lunch actually." "It's okay, Mom. I made more than enough for a guest." "Who's your friend?" Izuku said from inside. "Not exactly a friend, Iken," Inko answered. Please, madam. I have no bad intentions, I am just offering my help to your son in exchange for him helping me. Get in. Inko answered with a sigh. Thank you, madam, Saito said while gesturing his chauffeur to just wait for him. What's on the menu? The man asked cheekily. I tried my hand at sushi, I hope you don't mind. Izuku answered, shyly, while presenting the colorful display of fish and rice. Amazing! Saito exclaimed in wonder. To my shame lately I have left cooking to Izuku since he says he wants to train in his skills. Inko admitted, blushing. I cannot blame you, madam. And it's kind of fun since my wife had tried to prepare a similar dish and failed, that was when I decided to look to your son for help. Saito answered. My help? Was her sushi that bad? I did not try it since she just destroyed the kitchen. And yes, I was wondering if you were open to come teaching my wife how to cook once a week. He answered. How did she destroy a kitchen while preparing raw fish and rice? Izuku asked, confused. I have no idea how she managed and it honestly baffles me. Sometimes I wonder how it's possible that her bowl of cereal does not catch fire after she poured milk in it. I think the fact we are not in some crappy comedy manga for that not happening. Saito said, sighing. Oh, then why asking me? You have skill, clearly, since the other guy I wanted to ask had a breakdown after eating your dish. And also, well, no offense meant, but you are a nobody. Hey. Inko growled, offended. I think he means I don't have any fame that may cloud my judgment, Mom. Izuku said. Precisely, I asked around and you seem to be quite the soft-spoken, gentle boy from how people described you. So I thought that you would have been patient enough to help my precious Rei-chan become at least decent at cooking, Saito explained. I understand what you mean, but how bad is she actually? Izuku asked with narrowed eyes. On a scale from 1 to 10? The man asked back. Yes. Between Akane Tendu from Ranma and Odi from Gintama. The man answered bluntly. Good God. Izuku whispered in horror. Quite. As the man of the house I sacrifice myself by eating what she cooks whenever she tries, and spare Momo thanks to some bullshit excuse I cooked up years ago about my daughter's quirk needing a very specific diet to work best. It's a thankless mission, but somebody has to do it. Saito explained with a proud voice. You must love her a lot. More than my own life or liver, but the doctor said I can't keep this up or my stomach will start to break down, so she either becomes at least decent, or I will be in trouble. I'll see what I can do. Thank you, my boy. If you really pull this off, then whatever price you will demand I'll pay. Wait until we decide if it is feasible before saying that. Izuku answered, sighing. Please give it a try. I asked around and I can put a good word for you to work in a restaurant kitchen. Nothing luxurious though, as I don't believe those Ponzi stuck-up fools would accept a teen surpassing them. As for the university that I can actually pay for, I can't accept that, Izuku said with wide eyes. Being good at cooking is my wife's dream, Midoriya-san. Myself and Rei-chan may look like people drowning in cash now, but we weren't so fortunate when we were kids. Our family struck gold only late in our life, not long before we took over our respective family businesses. And you know what that means. Not really. It meant we worked. That's it. When we started dating we wanted a big family, instead we got so absorbed in our work we barely had one daughter, and even then we are hardly able to spend time with her. She grew up mostly with nannies and other strangers, with Ray and myself desperately squeezing out every second we could to spend it with her like a normal family. And now our daughter plans to join UA University and become a pro hero, meaning even less time to be a family. Saito explained with a sigh. And where do I fit in this? Izuku asked. Just once, Ray just wants to cook something for Momo. Like a mother should, or so she describes it. I don't know if I have the skills, I don't know how to teach somebody how to cook. Izuku answered, unsure. In that case I will help you as well. If we work together, I know we can do it. Saito offered. Why me? Why not you? There are hundreds of renowned chefs that I bet would give an arm and a leg to work for you, why not ask them? Or even a student from any school. Because they would give an arm and a leg, as you said, to work for a rich family. You are arguing against teaching a mother how to cook for her daughter. They would not care about the reason behind this, only about the compensation. Like all the others I asked before you. They all just looked at the check I offered and said yes, and then dropped out because they could not be bothered to put in the effort. Saito answered, frowning. Let's say I accept. Yes. Rei-san will need to put in the effort as well. She will, I swear. And I don't want to get paid. Why not? He asked, surprised. Because I want to make it with my own power, without help. I admire that conviction, it's rare nowadays. The man answered, smiling. So, when do I start, sir? Izuku asked with a tiny smile. Whenever you are ready, Izuku-san. Saito answered. Then I guess we have to celebrate? Inko offered. Madam, I know this sounds fishy, but I swear I just want to help my wife, nothing more. Then it won't be a problem if I join as well. Mom? Understandable, there is no problem for me. Saito answered. Thank you. My husband said he had a surprise for Izuku that will be ready in 2 days. Will it be okay if we come by once we have it delivered? Of course, madam. In the meantime I will tell Rei to get ready. A surprise? Izuku asked, confused. Oh, you'll see Iken. Those will help immensely. Inko answered with a conspiratorial smile. They were not milk knives, but Hisashi was sure a high-tech secret lab would not lose to any sharpener working by hand and producing the absolute best knives in the world. And in the afterlife, Melk the First felt extremely offended for reasons he could not fathom. And at the same time, somewhere even beyond mortals' understanding. New host candidate detected. Beginning operations. Author explains. Food honor, also known as food etiquette, is both a customary and a philosophical practice of etiquette. As a bonus, while learning food honor, the body will begin to auto-correct its movements, removing all actions deemed unnecessary and increases concentration. This allows more efficient use of calories, granting greater stamina, speed, and power, though the practitioner may not be immediately aware of the changes. Food honor affects different people in different ways. For gourmet hunters, it increases their overall power and calorie consumption. For chefs, it increases the delicacy in their movements, and it allows a chef to prepare ingredients so carefully that the ingredients are unaware that they have been handled. It was a day of celebration for the obscenely rich family. Their only daughter Momo had just been accepted into the recommendation entrance test for the prestigious hero school UA and will soon start her career as a pro hero, something that brought no little pride to both her parents. The family chef had even brought along a few party amenities and decorated the entire kitchen in an overabundance of streamers and banners. There is no need for all this, Momo said with an embarrassed smile. There is. Rei answered, smiling proudly at her daughter. The test is 1 year away. I don't even know if I will pass it, the young woman replied. With all the strings I had to pull to make you jump ahead of the queue, you better, her father, Saito, answered with a smirk. Darling, don't make her feel guilty. Rei chided him in answer. Just kidding. Just kidding, the man of the house answered with a childish, cheeky raspberry. Thank you all the same for helping me, Dad, Momo said while hugging the man tightly. Ah? You are growing up so fast. It seems just yesterday I was reading you bedtime stories and helping you dress up in the morning, her father replied, crying. Me too. You never wanted to eat your eggs when you were a kid, the family chef added. He too was sobbing heavily. Not you too, please, Takashi-san, Momo begged, chuckling. Bling blong. This must be young Midoriya. He said he had a surprise for you to celebrate. Saito said once seen Inko enter the house accompanied by their butler. The short and adorably plump, don't you dare lewd her, woman was as always dressed perfectly whenever visiting the Yaoyorozu house, and this time she was bringing with her a carefully folded paper basket of some homemade confectionery. The strange thing was that for some reason her son was nowhere to be seen. Good evening, she offered with a small bow. Good evening, Inko. Rei answered, still giddy at her daughter's success. Congratulations for your acceptance into UA, dear. I know it's not much, but we kinda made this for you, Inko said with a tiny smile. My father has made things bigger than they are, as usual. I did not enter UA, I was just told I will be able to take part in a special form of entrance exam next year, nothing more. My getting into the university is still up to debate, Momo answered while gratefully accepting the small thing. Oh, well, it is still worth celebrating, Inko answered with a small chuckle. It was honestly impossible to hate the woman. She and her son had been as unobtrusive as possible while Izuku taught Rei the basics of cooking, and especially by showing a godly level of patience during the lessons. Flashback, during the first lesson. Let's start with the basics, shall we? Izuku asked with a gentle smile. Okay, Rei answered, and used the silent thumbs up of both Saito and Momo to steel her resolve. We'll go slowly, starting with peeling and cutting, since preparing ingredients is the first and most important step. And remember, until you feel secure about handling a knife, always use the cat paws while cutting. Cat paws? Rei asked, confused. Fingers folded like a cat paw, you know? 9. Izuku answered, smiling sweetly while moving his hands up and down and even mewing a little. Good God, that's adorable. Saito thought in wonder while his wife and daughter turned beet red at the cutesy scene. Luckily, beside that small incident, things continued smoothly, and with how slow Izuku was forced to go to make sure Rei could not create another disaster of hers, as they all tragically discovered through trial and error, Saito was actually happy the lessons were free, because it was clear it will take a while before Rei would turn from a lethal to a decent chef. Present time. I don't see Izuku with you though. Where is he? Is everything okay? Momo asked. Oh, he is still busy training in his chef skills, nothing wrong. He is actually sorry for not being here today. The family noticed how the woman stiffened a little before answering, but did not push the issue as a form of respect. He wants to become a great chef, so training is a must, isn't it? Rei asked. Why yes. Again, I apologize. Don't worry. Saito, recognizing the situation was making her uncomfortable, switched the focus on the small package the woman took along. What is it? He asked. Oh, some Italian dessert. Tiramisu. Something? Tiramisu? Inko tried saying. Tiramisu. He knows you are a coffee freak, Momo-chan. So he made you a coffee-based dessert. Rei answered, amused. I am not a coffee freak, Mom. Momo immediately countered with an ashamed expression. You love 2 drinks, honey, tea and coffee. You have a caffeine dependency. Saito said with a wink. I can stop whenever I want, she replied a tad lamely. Suyer. Daddy. Ho. Inko could not stop a soft laugh from escaping her, further reddening Momo's face in embarrassment. Inko-san. Please. At least you, the young woman begged. I'm sorry, dear. But I really must go, I still have some errands to run. Congratulations again for your quasi-admission, Aiken, and I will cheer for you when the time comes. Inko answered, bowing a little to the family before nearing the door again. Miss Midoriya? Saito called out while accompanying her out. Yes, she asked. The man simply checked that his wife and daughter were distracted by the dessert, and the blissful expressions both had cemented their being elsewhere at the moment, and closed the door behind them both. Saito-san. Once it was clear they were alone, Inko looked at the man with a curious expression. What's wrong? Is Izuku all right? Call it a businessman's sixth sense, but Saito could tell Inko was trying to bullshit him, and he instantly got worried. Everything is fine, don't worry. We are just extremely busy lately. Inko answered. Midori, no. Inko, please tell me. Saito asked again. Go celebrate with your daughter, Saito. Today is her day and her day only. We'll be fine, have no fear, we Midoriyas always bounce back. Inko answered with a gentle smile, a bow, and then silently walked away. You are not fooling me, my friend? Saito muttered, sighing. He saw how her smile dropped as soon as she turned around, making the smell of bullshit he had sensed before grow 100-fold in power. Returning inside, he could see the small dessert being reduced to a tiny slice his wife, daughter and personal chef has left him just for manners' sake, since the thing was so thin you could almost see through it. And the 3 assholes had at the very least the decency to turn around and not look at him while wolfing down the huge slices they took for themselves. Thank you for leaving me some deep in thought on the Inko problem. Saito only gave a half-hearted remark before tasting the thing himself. To be fair, the dessert was amazing. The cream was fluffy and delicate, with the taste of both mascarpone and fresh eggs mixed together to perfection, while the Ladyfingers biscuits had been soaked in just the right amount of coffee to not crumble into a sludge when sliced and yet melt into the flavorful espresso taste once entered the mouth, making it so that the sweetness of the cream and the faint bitterness of the coffee could playfully battle for depths in one's palate in perfect balance. As Saito and his family had learned to expect from the boy's dishes, pure bliss. That was why Saito felt there was something strange if the boy was not present, and his mother seemed to be shouldering some immense weight. Both mother and son were now friends of the Yaoyorozu family, and that meant Saito felt honor-bound to discover what was happening. You okay, dear? Rei asked, once seen his thoughtful expression. I am just trying to taste whatever crumbs you ingrates left me with. It's not easy to taste something if it's smaller than the nail of a pinky finger. Saito answered sarcastically while pretending that nothing was out of the ordinary. I wanted to share it properly, but my mother insisted on cutting it differently. Momo tried saying, still with a bit of chocolate powder on the tip of her nose. I will forgive you because it is your special day today. But I am very disappointed in your mother, he answered. I am so sorry, darling. Rei said immediately, eyes sparkling just as she could do on command whenever she knew she was being naughty. Sorry, boss. It was really good, the family chef added. You especially. I am the boss of this house. You should not steal my food. Sorry, sir. I'll forgive you. Thank you, boss. If you make me a giant tiramisu just as good as this one was. Saito added with a malevolent smirk. The chef swore loudly in dismay. 2 days later, Midoriya household. Inko was sitting on the sofa nursing a cup of tea while her husband was spewing fire at the phone, both figuratively and literally. You listen here, you brain-dead quirkist. My son does not need a dim and quirk to come there teaching a lesson to the spoiled brats you call promising students. What? You believe one needs a tail or a second set of ears to cook? Moron. Hisashi roared like a beast before closing the call. Another university refused him? Hisashi's boss, from my island, asked while refilling Inko's cup with more tea. Apparently Samui's little friends took offense to their beloved buddy having a mental breakdown because of Izuku, so they made it their mission to stop any attempt of his to get into any possible school for aspiring chefs. Hisashi answered, snarling. And as a bonus, several food critics too have been asked to strong-arm restaurants into not taking him in for apprenticeship. Everything is hushed, but I called a couple guys specialized in intercepting calls and mails. If it is about food, except with subpar shacks, every venue have been sealed off for Izuku, the old man answered, sighing. And of course if they're accused to get into any university, and no matter what specialization, quirks get pushed forward in line, Inko added, tears ready to spill from her eyes. The world is not a nice place, I fear, the old man replied. You don't know anybody that can help him, sir? Hisashi asked. My contacts would have helped had your son decided to go into analysis, mathematics, science, physics, programming, strong lab science so to say. Even Island does not have food-oriented sections, even if Izuku's abilities have started to interest several colleagues of mine already. I can try to see if I can help him become a researcher and join Island once older and ready, but as a chef? I can't help him, I am sorry. It would still be a respectable job, Hisashi conceded, sighing. Does it really mean that Iken can't chase his own dreams? That he can only let others decide for him? Inko asked, heartbroken. If I could give Izuku my quirk I would do it without a second thought, but I am not all for one. Hisashi answered. Same here, all this fanfare for quirks is still a mystery to me. Besides needing 2 pairs of glasses and seeing in the dark, mine never made me feel all-powerful. The old man from my island answered with a shrug while the secondary pair of eyes he had on his forehead briefly opened to look at the parents, before he closed them again with a grimace. Jesus. The headache I get when using them is still unbearable, he then muttered, wincing. Knock, knock. I'll go see who it is. Hisashi said, opening the door to see Saito Yaoyorozu look at him with a saddened expression. Yes? What can I do for you? Hisashi asked, gulping a little. Can I see him? Saito asked. You know? Hisashi asked back, sighing and letting the man enter. I made a couple of calls to a few people I know, so I guess I have a small inkling of what happened. No schools for chefs want him. No schools, academia, private tutors or even decent restaurants. And we suspect that should he try to open one himself, half the food critics of Japan will purposely destroy his reputation. Hisashi answered. Of course, heaven forbid somebody dares shake the pedestal the great Samui sits his arse on. Bloody morons. Saito answered, rolling his eyes. British ancestors? Hisashi asked with a weak smile. No. My father forced me to study in England. Few things stuck. The other replied with a scrunched nose. Good evening, Saito. Inko said with a small wave once both men walked back inside. Good evening. The old man also welcomed the new arrival. Hello, Inko, how's he? Sai. Honestly? Dead in a sense, the last spark was used to make that dessert for dear Momo. Now he just lies in his bed all day hiding under the covers, she answered, sighing in despair. He took it that badly? He was furious, the rage of a beast. Then I guess he just lost himself in sadness once done burning through the anger. Too many hands stacked against him for things out of his control, he just got fed up with it, I guess. The old man answered with a helpless expression. It's not his fault if he is quirkless and if he has a great talent for cooking. Inko hissed angrily. We know, Inko. We know. Saito answered, sighing and trying to knock gently on the door to Izuku's bedroom. Knock, knock. Izuku? It's me, Saito. Izuku? I just want you to know that for us nothing will change. Rei still wants you to teach her and Momo still wants your help to revise her notes and Takeshi still insists on challenging you in a cooking showdown at least once. You still have friends in the Yaoyorozu family. Your family and mine have not abandoned you, you are not alone, Saito said to the door. Remember, you are not alone. You will find a way, I believe in you, he said before taking a few steps back. What not one of the adults in the living room could know was that the boy was not merely asleep, but actually going through what could be described as an out-of-body experience. Somewhere far away from Japan. Izuku had no idea when exactly he fell asleep, only that he found himself shifting from curling into a ball under his covers to standing in front of a small, unassuming restaurant hidden in a secluded, smallish alleyway in an ancient city he did not recognize. Fong Fong Little Store? He read aloud the store name with an unsure tone. Ah. With a sleepy grunt answering him, the boy finally noticed the slim and tall man slouching on a chair in front of the entrance and basking in the sun with his eyes closed. RMMRF. The very fat dog sleeping next to him instead just gave a guttural huff and briefly looked at the kid with only a single eye before returning to sleep. The guy sitting on the restaurant front slowly got up to lazily stretch while looking at Izuku with half-lidded eyes and a face utterly inexpressive. He just tied his long black hair in a ponytail with a silk rope and stood with his crossed arms looking at him. Hello. Izuku tried saying with a weak smile. So it's you. Come in. The tall man muttered with the corners of his mouth faintly pulling up in something resembling a smile before signaling him to follow inside the store. The restaurant was simple, neat and tidy. With an area of 10 square meters and a few sets of tables and chairs, it was indeed a small, homely restaurant. Curiously, the plates listed on the wood tablets on the wall were priced in gold coins and crystals. But at the owner's imperious gesture, Izuku ignored it and sat at a table under a strange tree giving off a soft light. And if Izuku's ears were not malfunctioning, a very faint chime-like sound whenever the wind from outside made its luscious green leaves flutter a little. A strange woman with jade skin and extremely long silky black hair and black dress was sitting on top of a small boat resting in a corner of the restaurant and looking at him with unfazed eyes while she dangled her feet back and forth. Where am I? He finally asked. My store. The owner answered, his voice coming from the small squared window connecting the kitchen to the main room. Okay. I am Bu Fong, the guy added after a long silence, as if too lazy to even introduce himself. Izuku mid-dash. I know, he cut him off. How? Busan. The system told me, the man answered. The system? This is the gourmet system. You have been chosen to become the system's host in the hero world and become the god of cooking of the hero world. A metallic voice resounded inside the store. What it said. Bu Fong added while delivering a plate of braised meat to the boy. What is the system? The system is the system. It will aid the new host in his mission to become the god of cooking of the hero world. You will be given a restaurant to manage, a training regimen to follow and missions to complete to further your growth. The closest similarity the host can use to help understanding is to follow the logic of what you call video games. Each yen you will gain will be translated into experience points. As you level up, your body, spirit and senses will become stronger and you will be permitted to use better ingredients from other worlds and better equipment from one of the various God of Cooking sets of other worlds. Host Bu Fong has already ascended to the title of God of Cooking of the fantasy world. It is now the turn of host Izuku to ascend. The metallic, genderless voice of the system explained. Why? And why me? Because the system deems you worthy and because every world needs a god of cooking. I see. Did you really say ingredients for other worlds? Izuku asked shocked. The best ones. Bu answered while serving him the meat. At the current level, host Izuku will only be able to utilize ingredients from his original world unless specifically asked by the system to use ingredients from other worlds. The system will take care of delivering ingredients and instruments. Host can rest assured, nobody will find anything out of the ordinary. Host Izuku only needs to focus on cooking and furthering his skills as a chef. The system will take care of all the rest. The rest. Equipment, security, ingredients, location and everything else. Security too? A whitey will be already waiting for you in the new restaurant along another blackie. A robot and a lord dog. Bu Fong answered while pointing at the tall robot with a protruding belly behind him and at the very fat dog sleeping outside. Not any normal dog. They asked the most vicious of this lord's sons to play security. They really want you to be safe. The dog answered with a deep, masculine and cultured voice worthy of a king. So I just have to focus on cooking? Izuku asked. Isn't that what a chef is supposed to do? Bu asked back. I want to bring smiles to people with my food to make them happy, not just cooking. I want people to enjoy my dishes enough to brighten their day. Well said, the man answered with a small nod of approval. Then host Izuku, please prepare for your test, the system said. Test. In 1 year the system will test you. Should you pass, you will be formally recognized as a host of the system and be given the restaurant and everything else. In the meantime the system will take care of preparations and make sure nothing will interfere with the host should he pass the test. Work strong, young man. The voice declared. This may be your last chance before losing another dream. Bu tried saying. My last chance. So I was told. They will try to make your dream impossible back home, but by personal experience I can vouch that the system can help. Whenever it is not acting too stingy or demanding. My last chance to be a chef, I'll do it. Good. Congratulations. I'll become a diamond good chef again. I did it once as Zaus, I can do it again as Izuku. Izuku said while taking a bite of the so-called red braised meat dish he was served, and as everything faded away, the boy had only one thought crossing his mind. God damn it, this tastes amazing. Real-world Midoriya household. Bang. The four adults jumped in fright as the bedroom door was kicked open by Izuku as he marched towards the stove with a determined expression. I'll be a chef even if I have to go against God himself to do it, the young man declared while turning on the stove and grabbing the knives and pans the guys of Island created for him. It will be strong, you know? Saito said sad. Then watch and be amazed. Izuku answered, smiling in determination as a fat salmon appeared in his hands. Woohoo. It really happened, I asked for the salmon I was tasked with preparing and it appeared. It means that the system really exists. I have 1 year to prepare for my exam. I can't fail. Izuku thought once he'd studied the perfect example of salmon in his hand and the recipe that had been downloaded inside his head as the first exercise for his new training regimen. Apparently the system had a very strict set of requirements for its acceptance exam, one even he as Zaus or Setsuno herself would have been strong-pressed to meet, and Izuku had only 1 year to meet said insane criteria, along a series of techniques/recipes he was supposed to master before the exam came, and he won't slack off. Watch me you fools out there. I was the king of chefs once, now I will ascend again to the top even without a quirk. With a knife twirling at high speed in his hands, Izuku started cooking with a fervor even superior to his previous life as Zaus. Behind him, Saito, his parents and the old man watched in awe as ingredients kept appearing in his hands out of thin air for him to prepare, along dishes of insanely high quality being prepared at high speed by him. 1 year later. Day of the recommendation exam for Momo and gourmet exam for Izuku. Yaoyorozu house, kitchen. It had been a tiring year for the boy, an insane year of sleepless nights where he would revisit whatever memory as his life as Zaus he could call upon together with the encyclopedia worth of basic knowledge the system pretended him to master and memorize to prepare for his test. Izuku's life had thus been reduced to a very strict schedule. Get up, breakfast, cutting training, high school, lunch, carving training, homework, cooking lessons with Rei Yaoyorozu, if it was Monday, seasoning training, dinner, meditation to recover Za's memories/special cooking techniques training, sleeping. Rinse and repeat every single day. And each and every training exercise came from the strict guidebook the system gave him, and every single exercise was always done in live streaming so that Hisashi and a couple of trusted pals his father's boss handpicked could study him, because apparently what were normal skills for a chef like Zaus, in Izuku's original world were absurd to say the least. The boy was unaware that Island had taken an unhealthy interest in him, and knew even less of how influential the guys in those secret labs actually were. Now we put the pie in the heated oven and we wait. Izuku instructed while closing the oven front panel to look at the raw dessert bask in the angry red produced by the heat inside the thing. I am so nervous. Rei admitted while nervously patting the flour from the apron she was wearing. You were amazing during preparation, Rei. I never helped you, you did it all alone, the boy answered with an encouraging smile. Except when I almost used salt instead of sugar, the woman said, sighing. Beside that, Izuku conceded, sweat dropping. I will make the labels on the jars bigger still, don't worry. Takeshi, the personal chef of the Yaoyorozu family, conceded while rolling his eyes. And I almost forgot to put the sliced apples in it. That too doesn't matter. And dash. Let's not focus on that. You made a wonderful pie to celebrate Momo's passing her test, and you did it all alone. When she comes back, she will find your very first dish waiting for her. Izuku forcefully cut the woman off before she could start a new downward spiral of depression about her lackluster cooking abilities. Are you sure she will pass? Takeshi asked, unsure. We are talking about Momo here. If she doesn't pass, who will? Izuku answered. You hold my daughter in high regard, don't you? Rei asked with a devious smile. She has a very sexy brain, more I won't say. Izuku, overly focused on cleaning the kitchen top they worked on, answered without looking at the woman. Oh, only her brain is sexy? Rei pushed forward, her smile predatory. I won't confirm nor deny that your daughter is also a very gorgeous young woman. My lips are sealed and no amount of nagging will force me to talk, he answered, flashing her a challenging smile. Do not underestimate my nagging powers, boy. No secret remains, so if I, Rei Yayorozu ne Katsuragi, want to know them, the woman replied haughtily. You are welcome to try. Izuku's answer faded into a whisper once he heard a genderless metallic voice ring inside his head. 1 year has passed. Host, please get through your initiation test right now. The system said. Right now? He asked. Izuku? You okay? Rei asked, worried at seeing him pale to unhealthy levels. Iken? What's wrong? Takashi also asked, just as worried. Right now, host. Please move behind the counter and prepare the required dishes following the recipes provided. The system answered. I was wondering if I could prepare something myself to celebrate? Izuku asked with a forced smile. You forgot to get a present for Momo-chan, didn't it? Rei asked, smiling mischievous. So I was wondering if I could prepare your dinner myself, as a present. As she will surely be very hungry after using her quirk to pass the test. Izuku answered. Oh, do you mind, Takashi? Nah. Fridge is full to the point of bursting. If neither you or Mr. Saito mind, I can sit one dinner out for once. The family chef answered, shrugging. Thank you. Izuku answered with an overly elated expression that made both adults laugh. Tying a green bandana on his head, the young man started collecting ingredients from the giant fridge, although from his point of view, the stuff he was about to cook was far from normal. From Izuku's point of view, as soon as he tied the bandana on his head, the kitchen of the Yayorozu family disappeared and an endless white space appeared around Izuku. Nothing beside the cooking area prepared by the system and a giant fridge was there. The young chef was alone in the middle of a pure white nothing. The test was simple. Prepare a full-course menu, meaning hors d'oeuvre, soup, fish dish, meat dish, main course, salad, dessert. Please prepare the first dish, hors d'oeuvre. Ingredient, puffer whale, the system asked. Puffer whale, an ingredient from the gourmet world of Zaus? Izuku muttered in dread as a small and long pure white fish appeared on a plate in front of him. A puffer whale was a deep-sea fish normally around 6 meters in length, but as it switched habitat and moved deeper underwater, the water pressure of the sea would compress its body to the size of a normal puffer fish. It was a small, pudgy-looking white fish with a round body, thin fins, small beady eyes and large blue lips. As a result of the deep pressure, the tastiness of the fish would become highly concentrated but would also cause the huge amount of waste produced by its body to become highly concentrated as well, forming what was known as the fish poison sac. Its poison sac resembled a small gooey purple blob whose position in the body constantly varied between puffer whales. When the fish gets startled, a chemical reaction would cause the release of its poison, causing its body to turn into a dotted dark purple color that shows off its intense toxicity. Izuku watched the thing with scared eyes because while he still had his transmigration lifetime's worth of knowledge as Zaus, his original body was not as trained as his trembling hands could testify. To ensure the puffer whale is safe to eat before any further steps can be taken, someone with keen senses must first ascertain the location of the poison sac. Afterwards, extremely precise cuts must be made to open the puffer whale and reveal the poison sac. If the handling is off by even a millimeter, the poison sac will instantly rupture and render the fish unsafe for consumption. Izuku mumbled aloud while recalling word for word the teachings of Za's old cooking teacher. Complicating this step was the fact that the location of the poison sac was completely unique from fish to fish, meaning there were at least over 100 variations of cuts needed to expose the poison sac. Likewise, the puffer whale's body was deceptively dense for its size due to the extreme compression it had undergone, making the precise knife work needed that much more difficult. Once the poison sac was exposed, it could only be removed with bare hands, during which the sac must be constantly rotated while simultaneously removing the mucous membrane. It was no surprise that many chefs of the gourmet world put preparing that ingredient on the same level of disarming a bomb. As an incentive for the future god of cooking of the hero world, host Izuku will be permitted to use one piece of the god of cooking set for the duration of this test, temporarily unlocking the knife of the god of cooking of the abyssal world, the silver sea dragon kitchen knife. What appeared in the young man's hand was a humble-looking kitchen knife with a long and thin blade giving off a faint light similar to moonlight. Both blade and the handle were made of pure white bone, with the handle carved in a delicate recreation of dragon scales. Created with the bone of a 1,000-years-old silver sea dragon, the goddess of the sea that rules unopposed the deepest oceans of the abyssal world. The system explained. And I can use it to cook? Izuku asked. Host, the dragon herself that was used to create the knife resides in another world and is a being that has ascended to godhood. In this world the host currently lives in, there is nothing that cannot be cut by this knife. Nothing? he asked, gulping. Nothing, its supreme sharpness will also count as a test for the host cutting and carving knowledge. I will start then. I will prepare puffer whale carpaccio. Izuku answered, and loudly chose the recipe between the ones the system suggested for the test. Good. Please start at once. Real world. Rei and Takashi were unaware of what Izuku and the system were talking about. They only saw the young man grab a fat fish from the fridge and start carefully palming it as if to study every inch of its body. He is treating it like a bundle of lit dynamite, Rei muttered, unsure by the overly focused light in Izuku's eyes. He must really want to do a good job for Miss Momo, the chef answered, thoughtful. You don't say, the woman replied, smirking. Yes, he normally is at least a bit chatty when cooking, but now? He is so focused I think he wouldn't notice if we shot him with a rifle, the chef answered, smiling just as mischievously. In the meantime they watched Izuku finally open the fish belly to remove the guts inside with slow and very tense movements, as if actually afraid those innards would blow up. In truth, from his point of view, he was actually managing to remove the poison sac from the special fish. Since he is working so strong, shouldn't we also invite him and his mother? I would feel bad if he works this strong and doesn't get a taste, Takashi muttered. True. Pass me the phone, I will ask Saito-kun if he is okay with having 2 guests for dinner. Rei answered after a short pause of thought. Sigh. Once the innards of the other 2 fishes as well went safely removed, they watched Izuku relax visibly, and start carefully removing the fins and head with a more calm disposition. What is he doing? Rei asked. Going with how he is slicing the fish, I think he is preparing fish carpaccio. The Yaoyorozu family chef answered, looking at how carefully Izuku removed the skin of the fish to leave out its plump, pristine meat. What the 2 did not know was that, as soon as the poison sac and skin was removed, the system switched the fish that used to be in their fridge with the puffer whale Izuku was actually preparing, surprising the chef with how fresh and gorgeous said fish flesh looked. Dom, that is one nice ingredient, we got a good batch this time, he admitted. Considering how much we spend every time you go out for groceries, it was a given, Rei answered. Now the cutting, they heard Izuku mutter while lightly raising the knife in his hand and, Sweet. Holy F. Both cursed in awe as a blurry of motion gave the impression the young man's hand managed to split into hundreds of copies of itself to slice the fishes into hundreds of extremely thin slices at every swing of the knife, so fast air itself went shredded. Satisfied by the slices being all of the same thickness, Izuku dared to show a tiny smile while taking out 2 wide plates, and once gently slapped each and every slice of fish with the flat side of the knife. He composed the 2 dishes by positioning the slices like petals of a flower and with each layer alternated so to create the image of 2 giant pure white translucent lotus flowers. He finished the 2 dishes by mixing olive oil, herbs, vinegar and lemon juice to season the carpaccio by gently drizzling the resulting aromatic oil all over it. Hors d'oeuvre is ready, Izuku muttered, elated, while adding a tiny pinch of pepper and rock salt and putting a single tiny cherry tomato carved into a rose in the middle of each plate. Wow, he turned a tomato into a rose? That's not mere carving, the family chef muttered in bitter envy. Soup, I need to make the soup next, Izuku muttered while moving to grab a big slab of meat from the fridge. Please use this boulder armadillo meat to make the soup dish, and host Izuku should remember the method the system taught him to tenderize its otherwise steel-strong meat into a dish good for human consumption. After a test about handling delicate ingredients, it was time for the system to test the young chef's knowledge in boiling and stewing. Once removed the topmost layer of fat, Izuku moved the slab of meat on the chopping board and easily cut what to him felt like an ingot of steel into cute little cubes. He then moved into a tall pot he filled in cold water. This knife is really sharp, he muttered while putting the pot of water with the meat cubes on the fire to boil. I sharpen them every day, thank you, Takashi answered, puffing out his chest in pride. Down with the ego. What's he doing? Rei asked. He is blanching the meat. He covered it in cold water and put it on the fire. As soon as it will boil, the meat scum will float to the surface like a foam. He will then skim that foam away, rinse the meat and use fresh water to repeat the blanching until all the scum is removed. Like that the soup will have clearer broth, so it will be more pleasing to the eyes, Takashi answered. Oh, nice, the woman answered, intrigued. In the meantime the 2 watched how once blanched, the small cubes of marbled meat got seared in olive oil and then gently braised with garlic and onions to then be submerged in a wine-based broth before being moved in the oven, where the meat would become meltingly tender. 2 hours in the oven before it's done. I can move to the fish dish in the meantime, Izuku muttered, grimacing as the next test was about steaming. The young man first squatted down and took out a few succulent fishes and various kinds of herbs and spices along with a bottle of white wine from the fridge and a few sheets of parchment paper from a near cupboard. "The scales have to go," Izuku muttered, and just like before, the kitchen knife in his hand moved at shocking speed to remove the scales on both sides of the fishes, bringing to light the pristine and unblemished meat under it. Just as with the puffer whale, every time Izuku started preparing a dish in the white nothingness that was the system's testing ground, in the real world the ingredients used were switched with those special ingredients the system provided, everything without Rei or Takashi noticing. As the kitchen knife began to dance gracefully in Izuku's hands, the blade made a clean cut on the fat fish's bellies, and with a swoosh, their fillet was delicately removed and set aside. "The bones?" Izuku muttered as he grabbed a pair of pliers with one hand and used the other to gently slap on the fish meat with the flat side of the knife, and once heard whatever sound cue he needed, his hands started moving back and forth at high speed to remove each and every bone from the mound of fish meat in front of him and then separating its skin from its flesh once done. He placed the meat into a porcelain plate and covered it with thin slices of herbs and spices. Once the stir-fried sauce and other side ingredients were prepared, the young chef cut the various sheets of cooking paper into a heart shape. "Oh look, a heart, what a surprise," Takashi muttered with a knowing look. "I know, who would have guessed he would have used a heart shape to prepare a dish for Momo?" Rei answered just as amused. Unaware of the two joking at his expenses, Izuku spread the paper wide open and went ahead to grab the skinned fish meat, once finished spreading a good spoonful of the stir-fried sauce on the hearts. Once placed the fish fillet above the prepared sauce, he added few more strips of herbs on top of the fish fillets to completely cover them. After that, he uncorked the wine bottle and poured a small glass of it over the fish's meat, preparing to wrap it once using some egg white as glue as he slowly wrapped the paper inch by inch around the meat until a cute-looking paper ball emerged as the final product. "Curious recipe," Takashi admitted, amused, and watched the various wrapped fishes being put inside a steamer and the thing added to the oven together with the still cooking stew. "Almost done," Izuku declared with a sigh. He was completely drenched in sweat, but the light in his eyes was still burning fiercely. He had many dishes still to prepare. 2 hours later, "I am home," Momo declared with a tired sigh as she entered the huge house. She looked tired and emaciated, meaning that the recommendation exam forced her to give 110% of herself and pushed her quirk, and so her own body, to the limit. "Welcome back." To her surprise, not only her parents and the family chef Takashi were present, but Izuku and Inko as well, with the young man looking just as dead tired as she was. "Oh, I did not know we had guests. I am not presentable," the poor girl said once seeing her own disheveled look in a near mirror. "It's okay, Momo-chan. You have worked strong, so it's a given," Saito answered while hugging his daughter as strong as he could. "Come, I will help you freshen up a little, like that dear Izuku will have enough time to finally finish cooking," Rei offered with a kind smile. "Him?" Momo asked. "I may have gone a little overboard, I hope you don't mind," Izuku answered, smiling weakly. He too looked pale and drained since the main course dish he had been tasked with preparing demanded him to infuse it with the gourmet energy from the gourmet cells he brought back from his Isekai as Zaus. Izuku considered cooking by infusing the dishes with gourmet energy cheating. The system preferred calling it evening the odds against quirks. Gororororo. Momo's answer was cut short by the inhuman gurgling sound that echoed from her stomach, with her face burning bright red. Right after. "I am so sorry. Please ignore that," the young woman begged, mortified. "It's okay for a chef, that's music to the ears," Izuku answered, smiling gently. "That doesn't help," Momo replied, distraught, and walked away behind her mother on the notes of everybody's laughs. Once everybody was seated, Izuku helped Takashi serve the various dishes he made for his test, having been informed by the system that those were indeed the same plates he prepared for his test and was now free to eat as his prize. And apparently, another prize was being able to use puffer whale as an ingredient even without the proper level. Host has passed the test with a final score of 100%. Congratulations. You are deemed worthy of becoming a host of the gourmet system. Your journey to become the god of cooking of the hero world will start tomorrow at the DLVRY of the restaurant. You will be given the precise address tomorrow and will find everything ready for use and the restaurant already decorated and furnished to your specifications. Congratulations. Your path to greatness is now open. Work strong, young man, the system declared with a happy-sounding fanfare once every dish had been brought to the table. Everything was simply amazing. The raw fish of the carpaccio had a slightly springy texture that made it bounce lively a little at each bite, with the meat seemingly never losing taste no matter how much one chewed. "Holy, you improved again," Inko said in awe. The stew had a dense broth that felt like silk while traveling down one's throat, and the meat had turned from strong as steel to buttery soft to the point of melting on the tongue, filling the mouth in thick meaty aroma at every bite. Same goes with the paper-wrapped fish, mixing perfectly the gentle taste of fish with the astringency of the wine, or the giant steak right after. A steak that, while very thick and resembling a piece of marble thanks to its thin lines of fat, was instead perfectly cooked to be juicy and tender. You still up to challenge him, Takeshi? Saito, uncaring of his mouth being completely covered in oil, asked with a smirk. No, the family chef answered from the kitchen counter while wildly shaking his head, causing a new round of laughs to ring around the main table. It's a shame you still can't find a restaurant to work in, Izuku. Your skills are simply unreal. Momo said with a saddened expression while helping herself to more seafood risotto, Izuku's main course of the system's test menu. Actually, I may have found one, Izuku admitted with a low voice. Yuich? The entire table uttered as one in surprise. Really? Ray asked. Apparently a business group is trying to enter into the world of restaurants to broaden their horizons and needed a young chef to take care of cooking in their first restaurant. I apparently was deemed good enough, and so they offered me the job. Tomorrow they will call me and tell me where the restaurant is. He explained while pulling out of his pocket the business card the system prepared for him to show if asked. Can I? Saito asked. Sure. The system incorporated? Never heard of it. Do you mind if I dig around a bit? Just to be sure it's not a scam, he offered. Feel free to accept, host Izuku. Everything has been taken care of. The genderless metallic voice of the system answered. Sure. At least I will be sure they are not trying to pull one on me. Izuku answered. Good. I'll keep this if you don't mind then. Saito answered while pocketing the plain business card. When will they call? Momo asked. Tomorrow in the evening. A bit too close, but I should be able to dig something up by then. Just in case we can accompany you so you and Inko won't go there alone. Ray offered. Oh, no. I don't want to impose. No can do, the woman answered. Gojo, Kao. My parents hardly stop when they set their mind on something. My apologies, Momo offered with a small smile. Sigh. It's okay, Izuku answered, sighing in defeat. Let's just focus on the dinner for now, Aiken. What about dessert? Inko asked, trying to cheer her boy up. Right. My lemon meringue pie and Ray-san's apple pie. I will take them here immediately, the young man gasped in horror before hurrying back to the kitchen to take out the dessert. The next day, Yavin Street. Yavin Street, also called Gluttony Street, as it housed the greatest ensemble of restaurant in the entire city, was a very long and straight street with restaurants of every type on both sides, from traditional Japanese restaurants to cheap sushi bars to Italian, Chinese, Mexican, American, Thai, Greek restaurants and so on and so forth. It was said that if one wanted to eat everything planet Earth had to offer, they only needed to visit Yavin Street and just eat their way through it. At number 4 stood a brand new restaurant called Green Cloud Restaurant. A small restaurant with an area of 12 meters squared, neat and tidy, with walls painted pure white decorated with tiny cute green clouds and few tables adorned with comfy seats with plush emerald green cushions. On the opposite side of the entrance there were 2 smallish trees framing the window connecting the kitchen to the main room and a dull glass panel acting as door to the kitchen. 2 giant windows at both sides on the entrance made sure the people passing by on the street could see clearly everything that was happening inside. From outside nothing looked out of ordinary, and even the other restaurants around and in front of the small new one seemed to accept its existence without too much of a fuss, partly thanks to the chef being a well-mannered and friendly young man. But there were actually 3 strange things about the Green Cloud restaurant. Its chef was extremely young and talented. There was a strange tall robot with a plump belly and a shining bald head acting as security, and a big black dog with luscious fur could be seen sleep in front of the restaurant, right next to the entrance door, at every hour of the day no matter what happened. Ding, ding, ding. A tiny bell chimed happily from above the door as a new customer entered the small new restaurant. Welcome. What can I do for you? Izuku, wearing a green chef attire, asked while surfacing from the kitchen to welcome the new guest. The path towards becoming the king of chefs once again was long, Izuku knew that, but he was ready to do whatever it took to reach his goal. A Chef Rebirth Chapter 3. Punishing Troublemakers. Number 4 Yavin Street, Green Cloud Restaurant. It has been a month since Izuku opened the restaurant the system provided for him, and even if the pool of customers was so thin many in his place would have fallen into despair, the young man instead treated it as a challenge to improve himself. He also got visited by the Department of Hygiene at least once a week, thanks to Samui's colleagues as the old man from my island informed him, but other than acting prissy and stuck up, Those morons were always forced to run away with their tails between their legs once seen the immaculate restaurant being a step close at being sterile like a hospital operating room. 3 more cockroaches have been removed. The system alerted Izuku inside his head. Those guys sure are persistent. One would think that after 2 weeks they would have understood that strategy was just a waste of time. Izuku muttered with a sigh, by now aware that one of Samui's friends was using her quirk to manipulate cockroaches and other vermin into forcing their way in his restaurant. Those poor things though would last barely an instant before being disintegrated by the system itself, leaving nothing behind. There have also been 2 instances of crooks being sent to contaminate the restaurant's water pipes. Whitey has took care of them before they could manage. While the restaurant's water and electricity come from the system, the other restaurants around it shall not be damaged by brain-dead simpletons. The metallic voice added. Another thing Izuku learned was that his sponsor was a merciless entity that took its mission of aiding the boy's ascension to god of cooking of the hero world very seriously, more often than not forcing him to BG the system to not overdo and show mercy. Giving the finishing touches to the udon noodles he was preparing, the young chef gave a last shook to the wok to make sure the thick meat broth would mix with the noodles before moving the content into a cute white porcelain bowl decorated in tiny green clouds. He then toppled with a spoonful of his homemade extra strong chili sauce. Blackie, time to eat, Izuku said while moving the giant bowl of noodles in front of the big black dog sleeping in front of the restaurant, with the intense aroma of the dish catching the attention of the people passing by. Good God, that dog eats better than me? A particularly sad man in a cheap business suit that had just ran by mentally whined as he saw the gorgeous dish being served to a dog. That was part of Izuku's new everyday life. Once finished high school, he had started working full-time in his new restaurant. He actually slept in the small flat above the restaurant as well. He would get up at dawn, get down to the restaurant kitchen to train his cutting and carving skills following the system's training regimen, then he would prepare the noodles for the black dog outside, acting as secondary security measure, always serving them in the bowl with Blackie written on it so to not mix it with the bowls for his customers, and then finally opening the restaurant properly for his customers. The vast main menu was fixed and proudly displayed on a trio of wooden plaques carved with elegant calligraphy and hanging on the wall by the entrance. An extra and tiny blackboard next to them instead showed the 4 dishes of the day. Izuku was free to decide daily based on his fancy. He even offered a small breakfast menu, although he had to wrangle with the system for days to do it. The entity was just as obnoxiously strict as he was warned about. Good morning, an elderly voice said as a very short woman with long white hair passed by the restaurant while using a tall wooden staff like a pogo stick. Good morning, Oba-san. Izuku answered as he watched the tiny old lady open her own Chinese restaurant in front of his. Buongiorno. Good morning. Next came a plump boy dragging along his blonde-haired and thinner brother to open the Italian restaurant next to Izuku's. Hi, the green-haired chef answered, waving at both and getting, as usual, a death glare from the blonde twin before both disappeared inside their store, Aldini's. All this hatred just because I made pizza once as my dish of the day? That guy needs to learn how to chill like his brother does. The young man muttered while returning inside his kitchen to prepare for the new day. Sometime later, lunch break rush hour. Tensei Ida, also known as the Turbo Hero, Ingenium, was starving. Being a full-time pro hero meant that 9 times out of 10 he could not have a proper schedule to manage his private life, meaning that more often than not he had to sustain himself on sandwiches eaten in a rush, sometimes even eaten mid-chasing of a villain, or like what happened that day, skipping breakfast altogether because a moron decided to make a nuisance of himself at the crack of dawn and take a gas station hostage to show his woman he was not a loser. The pro hero still failed to wrap his head around the man's reasoning even after delivering him to the police force. Grrrroro. Life as a pro hero is strong, isn't it? One of the police officers nearby asked, chuckling, once heard the soft growling of Tensei's belly. Very time-consuming, Tsukachi-san. The pro hero admitted, sheepish. Well, I was about to have lunch. You can tag along if you want, the detective offered with a kind smile. Don't mind if I do. Last night my dinner was some scraps of leftovers warmed in the microwave and today I skipped breakfast. It almost makes me regret moving out to live on my own. Tensei answered, sighing in dismay. It's the price to pay for independence. Come with me, I will take you to a small restaurant I know of. I have to be there for a small job as well. At least we'll grab a bite of something nice. Tsukachi answered, signaling at the other to follow him to his personal service car. A small job? The pro hero asked while sitting on the passenger seat. In the last month that restaurant has been visited by hygiene inspectors a total of 15 times, and today we got a heads up about them trying again with a forged order to enter the kitchen proper, something they failed to do previously. The snitcher asked us to stop this nonsense once and for all, together with arresting the food critic that has been handsomely paid to destroy the restaurant's reputation today as well. Tsukachi answered. And you yourself moved for this? Tensei asked, surprised. Can you keep a secret? It comes with the job, detective. If it is an official mission of the police force, I will take the secret to my grave. Good. The snitcher is at the head of one of the labs in Island, the secret ones. The other answered, making the pro-hero bristle in surprise. Whoever is behind that harassment is targeting one of the darlings of Island? Tensei asked in dread. So it seems, the detective answered with a grimace. The darlings of Island were a rumored tiny group of people that had caught the interest of the more secret side of the lone island very few in the hero business actually knew existed. The darlings were usually people with curious quirks or other strange abilities those scientists studied from afar and wanted nothing to interfere with, so to keep collecting data. Messing with a darling was just suicide, as the people studying them had lots of connections and were not afraid to use them to see the annoyances gone forever. We know full well who is behind this harassment. Several high-ranking chefs, friends of that chef Samui that just recently recovered from his mental breakdown. After today we will make it clear that this kind of mobbing is illegal and that there will be consequences if they don't stop. Same goes for the food critics that won't be professional and just write what the best offer tells them to, instead of the truth. Tsukachi explained. And here I thought villains would only kidnap, steal or kill, Tensei muttered, surprised. You would be shocked to see how vicious the world of cooking is. Those guys would gladly stab each other in the back for an extra star on their restaurant. Here we are, we will have lunch there at number 4. The detective answered, once parked the car and pointed at the restaurant not too far away from the parking lot. Green Cloud Restaurant, never heard of it. Tensei admitted, both walking leisurely towards the place with the pro-hero waving back at the odd kids they met along the way. Pretty new construction, inaugurated a month ago and owned by a trading company specialized in ingredients DLVRY. They just opened their own store and got a young promising chef to cook for them. The dishes are slightly more expensive than restaurants offering similar menus, but the kid's talent is astounding, even as a quirkless, and between that and the overall quality of the stuff he makes, nobody seems to mind. He should be the same age as your brother actually. Tsukachi said. The same age as Tenya? And he already has his own restaurant? Tensei asked, shocked. Yeah. He even got all the papers filled to be a proper chef. I checked their validity myself. He is even a full-fledged Itami, the youngest registered. The detective answered. Itami, literally, sushi chef, a title traditionally given to people that have certified mastery over the skills and knowledge needed to prepare proper sushi. What? I saw him in action for that. The kid's a monster. I showed the video to an old acquaintance of mine, and he himself certified the kid as worthy of the title and then some. Now I want to eat there then. Oh. Strong working youths are always nice to see, Tensei answered, smiling pleased. Just like your little brother, maybe? Tsukachi asked, smirking. Maybe I am a bit biased, but yes, the other replied just as amused. Bling, bling. The little bell on top of the door chimed happily as the duo entered the place. Beside other 2 people inside, they were the only customers. Sure is empty though, Tensei muttered, saddened. It happens when they try to scare your customers away. The restaurant's popularity is rising, but it's a very slow process. Luckily the kid doesn't seem to mind, the detective answered, moving to sit at a table next to one of the trees. What plant is this? I never saw it before. Are those runes imprinted on the leaves? Tensei asked. I have no clue. I just know that if I sit here my stress melts away, so I don't really mind if the leaves ring like a bell if you flick them. These small trees smell nice, look nice and feel nice, that's all I need to know. The other replied with a shrug and a very relaxed expression. Ring like dash ding? Holy heavens, they do. Please do not touch the leaves, those 2 plants are an endangered species, Izuku asked while coming out of the kitchen to address the 2 new customers. And you use them as afforestation for your restaurant? My sponsor is a little eccentric, I learned to not question them too much. What can I bring you? Izuku answered with a shrug. He knew those 2 trees came from another world, but his customers certainly didn't need to know that. I couldn't help but hear about your beef udon noodles. I think I will try those, thank you. Tsukachi asked. Of course. Mr. Ingenium? What can I bring you? So you know me? The costume is telling enough. I am a fan. Izuku answered, smiling wide. Remind me to leave you an autograph then. I think I will take a portion of those rainbow steamed fish buns I see in the menu and a plate of stir-fried shrimp noodles, thank you. Tensei answered while finally taking off the helmet of his hero costume. I will bring them immediately. Do you also want something to drink or will water suffice? Izuku asked. Water will be enough, we both are still on duty. Tsukachi answered. Okay, please wait a moment and I will bring everything to you, the young man answered before walking back into the kitchen. Apparently he is very fast at cooking, but nothing is pre-made so we won't wait much before eating. Tsukachi said. You came here to eat before? I usually have breakfast here since his coffee and croissants are to die for. This is the first time I visit him for lunch. Oh. Meanwhile, in the kitchen. The giant kitchen had been furnished, under Izuku's request, with every possible high-end apparatus an aspiring god of cooking may need to reach said flamboyant title. But what the young man loved the most was the huge table in the middle of the room occupied by an exquisite-looking giant cutting board in reddish wood adorned by delicate carvings of ingredients of every kind framing it, that and the insane collection of knives of every possible shape waiting for him next to it. I miss that dragon knife, that thing could cut like a dream, Izuku muttered with a sigh of dismay, having taken a large, fat fish from the cold storage of his kitchen and the plain knife from the rack next to the chopping board. Host Izuku will be able to unlock the Silver Sea Dragon kitchen knife, once unlocked 3 God of Cooking fragments. Fragments currently owned, 1. The system answered. Better work strong then, he muttered while removing the scales on both sides of the fish and opening its belly with a fast swipe of the knife so as to delicately separate the fillet from the skin and bones. Once washed away the BLD and the guts, the young chef rapidly cut the fish fillet into thin slices barely an inch wide. Few plump shrimps too went rapidly deshelled and quartered while the ginger root went sliced into literal hair-thin strings, same going for the other vegetables like carrots and red onions. The rainbow in the dish name was not a fancy choice. The inside of the dumplings was actually pretty colorful thanks to the ingredients used, enough to let Izuku use such prose to name it. Once sure every color was ready, the young man started mixing flour and water to prepare the wrapping for the dumplings, and as the system taught him, by infusing gourmet energy in the mixture while kneading it he made its consistency thicker at an astounding rate. Slap, slap, slap. Loud slapping noises echoed in the kitchen as Izuku's gourmet energy-infused hands kept slapping the ball of dough on the cutting board, making it ripple heavily as the energy influx forced the dough to flip inside out by itself at each slap. When the young chef finally stopped kneading and slapping the dough, the resulting smooth ball had a lustrous luster to it similar to marble and a faintly springy texture, making Izuku develop a small, satisfied smile. Perfect, he declared, pleased as he started preparing the wrappings by taking tiny portions of the dough ball he then flattened into extremely thin discs he painted in egg white and then filled with the fish fillet stripes and the other ingredients before wrapping the thing closed. Once the wrapping was completed, layers upon layers of creases appeared at the opening and the dumpling looked like a crescent moon. It was so appealing that it was like a work of art. Dumplings are ready, now while they are in the steamer, let's prepare the noodles. Once put the 6 dumplings into the bamboo plate of the steamer, Izuku used the remaining dough to prepare the beef noodles for the detective and the shrimp noodles for Ingenium, with the beef ones being one of the recipes he was most used to make since Blackie would eat a giant bowl of those twice a day as a payment for his services as security, as the dog's rapidly inflating belly could testify. Troublemakers. It was when he had started preparing the hand-pulled noodles that Izuku heard Whitey move away from his corner of the kitchen to march outside with heavy steps. Sigh. Another one. What is with this dine and dash craze nowadays? There isn't a restaurant here that hasn't got one fool trying it at least once a week. Izuku muttered with a sigh, unwilling to stop cooking just to deal with some punks. He had Whitey for that sort of things. Outside the kitchen, main room of the restaurant, just a minute ago. 2 brothers were occupying the table near the door, one short and thin, the other tall and muscular with broad shoulders. Both had a similar quirk giving them lizard-like appearances and thick skin covered in green scales. The tall one looked like a human-crocodile hybrid, the other resembled a lean human gecko. Tensei had noticed how the 2 kept stealing glances at the kitchen and then at the door once finished eating, and his hunch about the 2 being up to no good went confirmed when they both bolted away from the table and made a run for the door. Stop. The pro-hero immediately ordered as he and the detective jumped to their feet to stop the dine-and-dashers before they could actually leave the restaurant without paying. Slam. To their surprise the doors closed by themselves and no amount of pulling and pushing seemed able to make the glass door bulge, even under the titanic strength of the bulkier brother. You are supposed to pay for what you eat, guys. This food is clearly not cheap, Tsukachi said with narrowed eyes. What if we don't want to pay, old man? The chef is a quirkless brat, we owe him nothing, the bulkier brother hissed in contempt. Yeah, he can offer a bite to some guys, what's wrong with being generous? The thin brother added, shamelessly laughing. It's wrong because the chef of this place is trying to make a living, he is not here to cook for you just as a hobby, Tensei replied. Ah yes, a pro hero. The muscle giant said with a sneer once recognized Tensei as ingenium. Something wrong about my profession too? He asked, eyes narrowing dangerously. Swaggering aside, I was supposed to be a pro too before your lot kicked me out of school for a minor incident, the punk answered, growling. Minor incident? Now I remember. You are now Fumi Tokujemaru. You tore off the legs of one of your classmates because he was, allegedly, flirting with a girl you liked. A girl later discovered was the guy's sister, so naturally close to him. You may not remember, but it was me who took you to juvenile after that incident. I am surprised you are still up to causing trouble. Tsukachi said. The weakling was getting in the way, can't see where the problem is, the bulky brother answered, scoffing. And the fact the girl was not interested in you? Just foolishness. I was supposed to be the next All Might thanks to my power, but I guess you others were just jealous. She would have come around sooner or later. So harassment and violence brought forth by inflated ego. You are no hero material, Tensei declared. Bullshit. The giant said while punching the table next to him, but to his shock, even with all the strength he used while striking it, the wood table did not crumble to splinters like he expected. On the contrary, not even the plates and glasses on it moved at all. What the F is that table made of? The thin brother blurted out. Troublemakers. From inside the kitchen, the metallic voice of Whitey the robot rang in warning as the tall thing slowly made its way towards the twins. Measuring 2.5 meters in height, the chalk-white robot struck an imposing figure even with a bulging, soft round belly and a bald round head adorned just by two big round eyes shining in white light, giving it a kind of cute appearance. The robot would normally just stand in a corner of the kitchen and peek out to the main room to keep everything under control, and only coming out when trouble arose inside the restaurant to forcefully evict the troublemakers. I heard rumors about the restaurant's bouncer. I guess it is taking action under the chef's orders. Tsukachi said while watching the thing move with heavy steps until it stood in front of the bulky brother and actually towering over the guy by a head. You don't scare me, Tin Can. Troublemaker, pay the bill before leaving, or you will be punished accordingly. Whitey ordered, eyes flashing from white to red at regular intervals. What if I don't want to pay, Your boss is a useless quirkless icky. What will he do if I don't pay, What did you call me? Izuku's voice echoed in the room as he came out of the kitchen just long enough to glare at the twins. I called you a useless quirkless. So what dash? I hate being called useless. Deku. Whitey. If they insist on not paying, punish them. They are officially blacklisted from entering my restaurant. The young man ordered sharply, cutting off the guy so abruptly the punk painfully bit his own tongue. Never mistake Izuku's gentle disposition and good manners for weakness. After a lifetime as Zaus, he had learned to believe in himself enough to hate his old nickname as useless. He knew he wasn't and detested being wrongly labeled as such. Understood. Whitey nodded while the young chef merely returned inside the kitchen to finish cooking. I said I won't pay. Me neither, the thin brother added. Then you will need to come with me, Tsukachi said, sighing as he really wanted to have lunch before any bullshit could fall on his lap. To his surprise though, Whitey gently moved a giant hand in front of him to stop the detective before addressing the twins again. Troublemakers, pay the bill, it said again with his robotic monotonous voice. F you, the tall brother said, spitting on the robot's face. Then you shall be stripped as an example to others. Whitey declared. The four men present exclaimed as one in shock. Clang. F. Faster than he could react, the bulky brother got his entire head grabbed by Whitey's big hand, with the robot effortlessly lifting him up from the ground until his legs dangled from the floor. Let me go. Smash, smash, smash. Tensei was actually surprised, just judging by the loud sounds of the guy's punches landing on Whitey's face. He could tell a common human would at best last 2 blows before being knocked unconscious thanks to the monstrous strength behind each hit, but the robot was unfazed as his head wasn't moving of an inch whenever a punch landed on it. Troublemaker is unwilling to comply. Beginning stripping. Whitey declared without mercy as his other hand grabbed the front of the guy's clothes. Strayawap. Ah. The buff lizard guy whimpered in shock as every shred of clothing on his person went torn away in a single motion, something that also showed that other than his biceps, down there nothing was actually big or imposing. What happened to the respect between people? To the respect of the bro code? The tall guy mentally whimpered while fat tears of shame fell from his eyes. His spirit had been shattered under such a shameless attack. No. That's a stripping monster. The robot is a maniac. The thin brother in the meantime ran back towards the door to slam his fists on it begging to be let out. Flick, flick. The sound of Izuku bringing a small tray of freshly baked bread and the cold bottle of water to the pro-hero/detective duo's table rang loudly inside the restaurant, catching the full attention of everybody present. My sponsor seems to have a twisted sense of humor. To them, stripping troublemakers is an adequate answer and a good way to teach humility, and so they programmed Whitey accordingly, and it isn't even against the law thanks to an old incident with a pro-hero mistakenly stripping the villain she was fighting against. Her avoiding being sued created a precedent I can use to defend myself, so I suggest you pay the bill, or you'll be next. Izuku explained with a calm tone. What? Sadly true. Laws against public NDTY have become pretty lax nowadays, especially since a few pro-heroes of both genders do need to show some skin to use their quirks. Even if women are expected to show some modesty still. So unless he cripples you, he can actually get away with stripping you. Even if it would be better to leave at least the unmentionables untouched. Tsukachi confirmed, sighing. I will take note of it. Whitey? Collect the money for their bill or punish them. Whichever they choose. Izuku instructed right before disappearing back into the kitchen. Understood. The robot answered while dragging the ashamed to near-death naked bulky brother towards the thin one. Pay the bill, troublemaker, or face the consequences. We don't have money with us. We forgot our wallets back home and just hope to eat well and make a run for it. Please have mercy, the thin brother begged. No. Wow. Strap. Wow. In answer, the thin lizard brother too went stripped, although he was left in just his boxers, and both twins went then slapped by Whitey out of the restaurant in a high fly, drawing a rather appealing arch in the air before both landed headfirst into the big dumpster at the opposite end of the road with only their pale butt sticking out from the pile of garbage inside the thing. Two exceptionally shiny asses, thanks to their scaled skin. Troublemakers dealt with. Whitey declared while delivering the IDs, phones, keys and a copy of the twins' bill to Tsukachi while the torn clothes disappeared inside the literal bottomless hole the robot summoned once opened its soft big belly like a mouth. Another function of Whitey was garbage disposal, and Izuku loved having a literal black hole able to endlessly collect every scrap left by customers or his own practice cooking. Everything just ceased to exist once swallowed by the robot. So, yes, I will make sure those two morons will get back their stuff and actually return here to pay the bill. Okay. The detective merely accepted the silent request with a small shrug and watched the robot silently walk back inside the kitchen. This place does not joke around. Tensei commented tersely while the two returned to their table. I'll go make a call to have the two collected, just call me when the food arrives. Tsukachi finally understood he had to take care of the two naked and unconscious young men outside before they could run away, so with a heavy heart, he left the restaurant to do his job. Although, both men's mood improved considerably when their food finally arrived and they could have their lunch in peace. Please enjoy your meal and I apologize for the sad spectacle. I have no patience for bullies and troublemakers since because of one my life was almost forfeit. It's a scar that is still too fresh, Izuku explained with a small smile and a bow, and leaving the duo their order before moving to free and clean the table once occupied by the two lizard twins. His life was almost forfeit? Tensei muttered, unsure. Something must have happened that almost killed him. I think I will give it a look into it. Tsukachi answered while grabbing a hold of the noodles with his chopsticks to give them a tentative bite. Slurp. An outrageously loud slurping noise soon echoed in the restaurant as the wide-eyed man pretty much inhaled the entire mouthful in raving hunger, his cheeks bulging like a hamster's as he loudly chewed on and on and on with half-lidded eyes of bliss. Each bite felt like a massage was being given to his tongue, while the thick broth hugged his palate and released endless streams of meaty aroma, followed by waves upon waves of spices sweetly accompanied by a light spicy feeling from the chili sauce that had been mixed with the broth. The tiny cubes of meat as well were buttery soft and releasing the full blast of their aroma every time the detective chewed them. The entire dish was a flavor bomb that seemed to never end. I guess it's good? Tensei asked with an amused chuckle, watching the professional detective throw credibility to the wind and wolf down his plate like a hungry ghost until his mouth was shining from the broth on it. Scott. God eyes so good, the detective gurgled out. His mouth was simply never empty enough for him to answer properly. Well, I will give it a try myself then, the pro-hero, still utterly amused, declared while opening the tiny bamboo casket containing his steamed buns to release a thick pure white cloud of vapor that fully submerged him in the gentle scent of the sea. Whoa! Shaking his head a little to stop any sea-related daydream from surfacing, the young man grabbed one of the 6 cute dumplings with his chopsticks to study it. The steaming had turned the thin wrapping semi-transparent, giving him the chance to faintly see the ingredients inside and take note that indeed those dumplings could be called rainbow-colored thanks to what lies inside. It does look pretty, Tensei muttered before giving it a bite. Mmmmmush. Izuku gave an embarrassed chuckle as he watched one of the big guns of the pro-hero business give a very orgasm-like mmm of appreciation before starting to eat like, well, a pig. The young chef was still unused to the flamboyant reaction first-time customers had with his food. He knew that thanks to his time as Zaus and the tutoring of the system his cooking skills were good, but couldn't people just tone it down? Just a little bit? It was really embarrassing. Ingenium-san. There are people watching. Izuku thought with a shy blush as few people that were passing in front of the restaurant had stopped dead in their tracks to watch a pro-hero and a detective of the police force gorge themselves in abandon, and while it was very good publicity, it didn't make Izuku feel any less embarrassed. With Tensei and Tsukachi, the young pro-hero was in heaven. His empty stomach was crying in joy as bites after bites of pure happiness were rapidly filling it. The fish of the dumplings had pretty much melted into his mouth as soon as he had bitten through the thin dumplings, thus creating a soup-like broth once mixed with the other ingredients inside the tiny thing that kept rushing down his throat like a raging river of flavor at each bite. Amazing. Tensei muttered, immediately falling in love with that delicate taste that warmed his heart. His new favorite dish was then soon followed by the stir-fried noodles adorned with shrimps so fat and juicy that they bounced between his teeth at each bite. Ashiti. Empty already? Tsukachi gasped in horror once seen his empty bowl, and barely caught himself from licking the plate clean, something he hadn't done since he was 5 years old. I know. The plates are big but they finish so fast. Tensei answered, just as sorrowful at seeing his own empty plates. Should we order something else? The detective asked, unsure. He seems to have a nice selection of meat dishes, and it has been a while since I had some steak, Tensei muttered in answer. I got some nice Argentine beef if you want. I also have some A5 Kobe steak if you feel like pampering yourself. Izuku offered, making both men seek in a cold breath. Argentine beef and A5 Kobe, the undisputed kings when it came to steaks, ludicrously expensive, but otherworldly delicious as well. Tensei's face immediately turned red as an intense battle raged between his heart, his mind and his stomach, each one giving valid pros and cons to the idea of A5 please medium rare. The pro-hero blurted out, his stomach seizing victory out of sheer gluttony. Will also blow a hole in Tensei's finances, but at the moment he straight up didn't care. I'll go with a more mundane normal steak thank you. Tsukachi declared with a bitter expression, totally not jealous about pro-heroes being able to throw away money like that. Absolutely. Not at all. Not even a little bit jealous. Diamond rich bastards, he thought. I'll be back immediately, Izuku answered with a bow and disappearing soon after inside the kitchen. Attracted by the two big shots eating to their heart's content, few of the people outside ventured into the new restaurant owned by the youngest chef they had ever seen, soon filling every table with curious new customers. When 1 hour later the bribed health inspector and food critic arrived, they both found a pro-hero and detective waiting for them and very ready to shut down their backers' plan once and for all, and feeling almost tempted to somehow unleash Whitey on them for added measure just to make sure the lesson stuck. The next day, AU University. The students of Class 1A were having a small lunch break in the university-owned cafeteria, chatting about their first month of school and still recovering from their teacher Aizawa's quirk test, and also a bit angry at his threat of expulsion in case of failure merely being what he called a logical ruse. They all were certain the man didn't actually know what a logical ruse was supposed to be. Wahahaha. It was then that a loud guffaw shook the cafeteria as a girl from Class 1B with a bunny quirk went overcome by a gut-wrenching laughing fit. Rumi-chan. Please don't make a scene. Pony Tsunatori begged with a red face. Can you please have some decency? At least laugh like a proper lady. Tenya Ida, little brother of Tensei, asked with a kind of prude tone, annoyed by the outburst since Class 1A and 1B had their tables next to each other. Oh, stuff it glasses? The bunny girl snapped back. I never. The young man bristled in shock at the rudeness. What made you laugh like that? Can we at least know the cause? Momo asked, rolling her eyes. You idiots from 1A all have a stick up your butt. I just watched a video update from a guy I am following on TW at Tur. The bunny girl, Rumi, answered with a huff. A nice joke. Kaminari asked immediately. In a sense, a duo of morons tried to dine and dash, but as always Whitey the Mighty punished them. Rumi answered. Whitey who? Here, idiot. Rumi answered, showing them the social media page owned by a small-time influencer. The lizard twins had made their debut in the guy's special feed as they were shown being flung out of Izuku's restaurant by the tall bald robot, completed with stock sound effect of something falling from the sky whistling, and a final score detailing the style, landing and technique of their flying journey towards the garbage bin at the opposite side of the street, in their case an August 5th 10 as a total score, completed with the stock sound effect of a roaring applause. It was not an isolated case. In fact, that influencer working in one of the restaurant in front of Izuku's was making a killing by posting a video series featuring troublemakers flying out of the restaurant thanks to Whitey, rapidly racking in followers and likes at each new update. Stripping demon, troublemakers must be punished, mighty Whitey, ST ripping Avenger, food orgasm, Cinnabon cooks good, cutie chef, this tastes awesome, and many more hashtags were also trending a lot, increasing the popularity of both restaurant and robot exponentially. Why in their boxers? The invisible girl Turu asked, giggling. What a better way to punish some losers than stripping them? Rumi replied with a feral smirk. Green Cloud Restaurant? I believe my brother went there yesterday. He praised its chef quite a lot. Tenya admitted, unsure. In truth, his brother spent hours gushing about the chef's talent, and maybe, just maybe, Tenya was a tiny bit angry at the idea of somebody else being praised that much by his brother. Green Cloud, you say? Momo repeated, eyebrows shooting up to her hairline. You know it? It's Izuku's restaurant. Heavens, I promised I would have gone to visit him and still have not done it. I can't believe he opened a month ago and I still haven't gone there. The young woman admitted, ashamed. It was a very eventful month, Yamamo. I am sure he will understand, Mina answered with an encouraging smile. We can go there together tomorrow if you want, Ochako added. Do you mind? She asked back. Not at all, the other girls answered as one. We all will go. I am curious myself. Mizo admitted he too had heard of the place and the few reviews he saw were all very positive. Tisit. Might as well go there myself before you 1A buffoons stink up the place too much, Rumi declared haughtily, causing many of her classmates to facepalm in annoyance at her rough attitude. Of the two tables, only one guy was not thrilled at the idea of visiting the restaurant and meeting its chef. Katsuki swore with a low voice, with his normal perennial scowl gaining an edge of dread in a matter of seconds. He really did not feel like meeting the guy yet.